Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Freaky Fast Broadcasting on your Monday night. Tonight, we give you coverage of the ISRC Larry Art Productions Truck Series. Season 7's been upon us, and tonight we get to stay in Florida. Last week, coming off of a Daytona race that was spectacular to watch, with John Forbes taking the victory. But tonight, we go to race number 2 to watch the Danny O Plays 240 at Homestead. Go check out Danny Cochran's live stream on Twitch at It's Danny O Plays. Cannot wait for tonight's race in Ashton. Race number 2 here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. It's going to be a fun one overall. Cannot wait to give you the coverage. My name is Sam Dyer. Joining me up in the booth is going to be Zach Hall. Zach, again, this series on Monday nights always giving us great finishes, and last week they did not deny us with another spectacular one.
That's for sure. Last week was a wild finish there at Daytona, and I highly recommend, if you didn't see that, going back and checking out our broadcast at some point after this race tonight here to just see how wild that finish was, of course. And what a start to the season it was there with John Forbes, our defending two-time champion now, getting the first win of the season. Big story, I think, lines here is he is not going to be here tonight, and he dominated this race just a mere few months ago for our season finale to win that championship. So I'm excited to see who's going to take that mantle and take control of the drive of that position, with it kind of being open right now to see who's going to win Homestead tonight.
Yeah, Homestead looks to be pretty wide open. There's a few drivers that have won here in the past that are going to be favorites to watch out for, but overall there's also plenty of rookies that have been showing some pretty decent speed here this evening, and we're excited for all the amazing action here tonight. Going to be a little bit longer of a Homestead race than what we've seen in the past. 160 laps is going to be the length here this evening. But as the drivers have been getting practice set up for themselves, we're just 40 seconds away from qualifying starting. And Zach, looking at this season so far, the caliber of drivers, we've noted on it a lot last week, but the returning drivers, Mark Whitley, Trenton Jump, and some of the rookies that are entering into this season, like we see on screen of Larry Yingling, this season is going to be spectacular. And I know tonight really is going to be that tone center for probably the rest of the season.
It definitely will be. Daytona is always a great place to start the season because it kind of gives everybody an opportunity to shine and really, get that really everybody learning phase out of the way. And then when you come to a track like Homestead, it's more straight up. It's all about your pace, how quick you're going to be, how well can you conserve the tires, and do all the vital things we see week in and week out that kind of come down to really deciding who's going to be the champion. So I think tonight we're really, so to say, set our pecking order.
As you saw the driver blink out there of Larry Yingling, that is the indication that we are done with practice. Drivers now will be entering a 5-minute qualifying period, put down their fastest lap, but they only have 2 laps to do so. Their laps can be invalidated, though, if they touch the outside wall or find themselves spinning out and going out of control. But qualifying here, Zach, I talked to some of the drivers. They talked about how this new aero package, how it's going to be different. They feel like it's going to make these trucks maybe a little bit more stable here tonight. Do you feel like track position is going to be as critical as we enter into qualifying?
I think it will be. We've seen last, season here, just not that long ago, it was our season finale, that, you could get out front and really, make a lot of time and still keep your tires underneath you. It wasn't really a factor where sometimes we used to come to Homestead, in my opinion, where if you got out front and kind of ran away, it was a given factor that you were going to be going backwards at some point just due to the tire wear. But I think here with the new aero package, the way the trucks handle right now currently, I think track position, it will be a very vital thing. And look right here, we're getting to see, early here in qualifying, Ryan Bird running the top groove. And I wonder if this is mostly just a build-up speed lap, or will this be where the fastest groove is? The high side, always known to have a ton of speed here at Homestead, but it does have that risk of, do you go up there and risk it for that high side, because not only you're closer to the wall, but it also puts a little bit more load into those tires, which equates to more tire temperature and more tire wear. So we'll see what's quick, but right now I think the fast times will most likely come on the upper groove of the track.
First couple of laps can be placed in. It's Trenton Jump with a 33.5 second lap time. Ryan Bird, after that first lap, going to drop to the bottom, and it looks like that was just a warm-up lap for his first time. Going to be trying to look for a little bit more speed if possible. And some of these drivers, when they run the outside lane, it's about that maximum speed that they hit the straightaways with Other drivers, they like to drive down to the bottom, and it's all about that entry speed. As Mark Whitley, now new top driver with a 33.4. But here comes the second lap for some of the drivers that already put down there first. Watching out for Trenton Jump, as well as Ryan Bird. Bird only able to move up to second fastest. Jump not able to find any extra more speed, and Mark Whitley still holds with a 33.404 for his fastest lap so far.
We'll see if anybody else can find some time. Whitley, back in the previous history here at Homestead, has found a lot of speed. And we just had a newcomer, Shane Darian, jump up to second on the board. So that's a great time there. 300ths of a second still off that 77's time of Mark Whitley. We'll see if anybody really has anything for it. It seems like the second laps have been the laps that have worked very, very well for these drivers. And right here coming across the board, I think Cedric Hunter is going to be a little bit farther back than he'd like to be, but it looks like 19th for him. So right here, the two of Danny Cochran always had speed here at Homestead. I think he could be one to watch out for. Let's see what he can do on that second lap.
Danny Cochran coming across the line, hoping for some good speed. First lap, did not find the speed that he was looking for, but we'll see if he can find anything a little bit extra here for the two. Going to be our race sponsor for tonight. Again, the Dan O Plays 240. Rushing right against that outside wall, and what a huge risk to reward type of a scenario you're putting yourself in real life NASCAR. It's kind of the Kyle Larson line of being so far up, but Danny Cochran decided to go to the low end through 3 and 4 for himself, and the two, lap number 1 was hoping for a good time. Instead it'll be lap number 2 where he's going to be hoping that lap will count. Across the line, it was a 33.5, but Zach, it doesn't look like it's going to count. That's an invalidated time. The two will start in the back half of the field.
Oh, that is a huge letdown for that 2 team for sure, because that time, like you said, it was around a 51. So would have probably put them around the 8th to 9th to 10th positions right there with Thomas Green, Isaac Shelley, and Trenton Jump. But I think it was the contact with the wall off the exit of 2 there that got him. And yeah, that's just something easy to do. And look here, Cody Reed was coming around to complete his first lap, and it looks like he gets into the wall, and that's going to ruin his warm-up, his lap there, and he's just going to have to go straight into it here on the next attempt. And I don't even know if he'll have time with 46 seconds left.
No, it doesn't look like he's going to have enough time. It takes about 33 seconds to 34 seconds to put down a lap time, and with how much time's left, Cody Reed, Danny Cochran, both will start at the tail end of the line. Corey Deal in the 44, going to be one of the last drivers in qualifying, as everyone else has finished up their times. Top of the board, got to give credit to Shane Tarian. Again, talked to him earlier. He had zero confidence on this race, trying to be second by 300ths of a second. Is so impressive. His Deal crosses the line. He was 36th on the board after his first lap, hoping for an advantage. And there's a major jump from 34th all the way to the middle of the pack to 14th for the 44 machine.
Great time there from the 44. His first real showing here at the league for him, and a great job to put him right in the middle of the field here, as it looks like the final few seconds click away from qualifying, and it's official. Mark Whitley on pole position.
As the drivers finish up qualifying, Mark Whitley going to grab another pole for himself in his career here in the ISRC Lariat Productions Truck Series. Again, one of the returning drivers took a break last season from racing with ISRC drivers, came back for season number 7, expecting some big things from the 77 machine, as drivers are now entering a 5-minute warm-up period. Gives us time to take a look at the standings and also at the schedule, as well as gives time for the drivers to get any last practice that is needed. We'll start off with taking a look at our point standings, and like we noted on John Forbes' winner from last week, he takes this week off, had to step away. Another driver that had to step away was Joshua Kanata. Will be missing out tonight. That is some big points that he'll be missing out. He's 24th, but right around the bubble, we've got Talon Drake as well as Anthony Gaudio going to be that 16th and 17th position. But all these positions, Zach, it's early in the season. Daytona was the first race. Everything can really shuffle after tonight.
Oh, that it can. It's going to really change up after these first few races of the season. So, yeah, this looks this way right now, and, we can worry about that cut line, but still going to need at least 3 to 4 more races before we really see how this thing's going to be starting to shape up in this regular season before they head off into the playoffs later this year. So it's going to be fun to see how it all shakes out, but definitely, likes of John Forbes getting that win early and having to miss this week, that's definitely going to help his cause for not having too many worries.
Yeah, not a lot of worries on his end, as take a closer look at the schedule moving forward. Again, we got Daytona. Got to see Larry Yangling, the rookie, take the pole last week, and John Forbes taking the win. But the upcoming schedule is going to be a fun one. Don't want to miss out on. We have tonight at Homestead, Iowa, Road America. Going to be the next four as our first 4 races of the season before we take a week off and we come back in the middle of September for Dover, Michigan, and Gateway at Worldwide Technology Raceway. This first half of the regular season, certainly a variety, and we love seeing the variety because it gives us a better kind of a picture of who's going to be the fast driver to watch out for the playoffs.
It really does. It gives us more of a broad picture. It doesn't, if we had a bunch of 1.5 mile or 2 mile tracks right at the beginning, you could be like, oh, this guy's the favorite. And you really wouldn't know because there's so much variety later in the schedule. But with it being variety throughout the whole, each and every week, it's really going to show us pretty early, I think, who's the driver that is the most consistent through all the different disciplines. So we're going to have definitely a lot of that on our mind here heading through these next few weeks.
We certainly are, and as we're inching closer to the 2-minute period of our warm-up, this is our time that we usually have our pick'ems, our drivers who we think could be winning tonight, or just drivers to watch out for here this evening. And for myself, again, we made these picks during the practice, sometimes even before the sessions are up for tonight, but I went with the obvious pick. I went with Mark Whitley. Mark Whitley has been so fast here at Homestead. He's won twice. He's won once, excuse me. Should have probably won twice as he did start park back in season 3. But last few seasons have been John Forbes. But with Forbes out, I think Mark Whitley could be the next driver in line to try to get himself back into victory lane here early this season.
Definitely a strong pick, especially with starting on pole position like he is. And we'll see how it works out for you, Sam, there. But the driver I went with, unfortunately, we're going to have the exact opposite effect. He's going to be starting 38th. That's the 2 of Danny Cochran. He's got a ton of speed. I don't doubt him still with starting that far back. And I think after what he showed me last season we were here and the past few seasons, his performances here, I think he could definitely work his way up to the front.
Based off how we've made picks during Wednesday nights with WSSR, I don't think that's a terrible pick at all. It's the 2, like you said, will start in the back. And also in the booth with us, running productions in the background, we have Robert Moyer Jr. And his pick here tonight, it's going to be the 13 of Cedric Hunter, our Season 3 winner of this race. Not a bad decision. Again, Season 3, we look back at it very similar to tonight. It was the second race of the season. A huge field showed up for that Season 3 race, and it was the 13 that stole it on the last lap, last corner to take the victory. Not a bad pick at all. As we move from ourselves here from the pick'ems, Zach, again, entering this race, traditionally the field has ran 150 laps. Tonight's going to be 160. How do you feel like that could be influencing these drivers here this evening?
A little bit longer of a races for sure here to start off this early part of the season. So, it can have an endurance effect. You definitely get tired while racing, especially fighting at a track like Homestead. But I think also it's more of like the mental game and the strategies that open up. With now us having a lap 45 stage, it's a pretty long stage there, and we can go the distance on the fuel there, but then that second half of the race, it's going to be questionable. Can they make a 1-stop happen, or will the 2-stop just be faster? So going to have a lot of possibilities on the table, but that's what racing's about. Sometimes you got to take it on the fly.
Also been talking to the drivers. Their confidence level on a low caution count here tonight is very high. We'll see if the drivers can keep it together, though, here tonight. As practice is over, qualifying is done, and the warm-up is just finishing up. That means it is about to be race time here tonight for the ISRC Lariat Productions Truck Series Season 7, race number 2, and your newest driver getting the pole this season going to be Mark Whitley as we take a look at our starting grid here tonight for the Danny O Plays 240 at Homestead. Pole sitter going to be the 77 of Mark Whitley, the most winningest driver in the ISRC Truck Series. He wants to get back on that win column with his return. In second place, though, going to be the rookie of the 83 of Shane Terrian, part-timer. But could he be a driver that could steal a win here early in the season? Ryan Bird, the 49, sneaky speed to start out here tonight. Going to be in third. Justin Sipes, also a returning driver. He'll start fourth. Presley Sora in the 5th position, another rookie up front, top 5. Very different from our traditional veterans of the series, where we find one of those in 6th place. It's the 24 of Ali Fonseca. Jarrett Talmadge and Thomas Green going to be back in 7th and 8th for the Planet Sim Racing teammates. Then in 9th, we find Isaiah Shelley and Trent Jump finishing out our top 10.
Starting in the 11th position, the 38 of Christopher Norris. Alongside him is the rookie of Larry Yingling in 12th. 13th is going to be to our Daytona driver that really put on a show is Joshua Stovall. 14th is going to go to the 44 of Cody Deal. 15th is going to be the 9 of Justin Campbell, with 16th being the 29 of Logan Breakey. 17th position going to be held by Ethan Smith, with past champion Nick Crawford starting back in 18th. And another champion starting back in 19th along with him is going to be Vincent Sora, and rounding out the top 20 is the 3 of Anthony Gardner.
Starting at 21st, we find the 50 machine of Samuel Garcia, our spotlight driver after last week's race. Then in 22nd, we find the 13 of Cedric Hunter, Robert Moyer Jr.'s pick for tonight's race. Then in 23rd was quick in practice, Michael Miller, 99, might be a driver to watch out for to climb through the field. In 24th, it's the 5 Cudamones. Mason Cassidy will start all the way back in 25th position in the 17. Justin Smith will start 26th in the 6. Shane Wyatt, rookies, his debut race for the ISRC Truck Series. He'll start 27th for the 27. And in the right number, in the 8, it's Mark Morales Jr. in 28th. Ryan Ferraro will be starting 29th. Then finishing out our top 30, it's the 19 of Tyler Dangler.
Starting 31st is the 01 of Aaron Kralik. Alongside him at 32nd, it's going to be Jesse Thornick. 33rd is going to go to Eric Stamp, with 34th going to Stephen McComas. 35th is going to be Justin Forbes. Alongside him is a new driver here, also the 7 of Michael Bussell in the 36th position. 37th is going to be held by Cody Reed with invalidating his lap. 38th is going to go to Danny Cock in the same boat for him, invalidating the lap. And rounding out the field in 39th is going to be Joshua Freed.
Like we noted on before, tonight's race, 160 laps here at Homestead. Stage break at the end of lap 45. No fast repairs, only 4 sets of extra tires in pit road to work with the fuel mileage going to be close here, as around 48 to 50 laps. We'll see if they can stretch it any further than that, or will they use too much fuel before the stage is over. A little bit of contact for the leaders, though, as they were warming up their tires. Mark Whitley giving a little bit of a tail slapper to Shane Tarrant on the outside. So our front row, already antsy and ready. So are we. Cannot believe that we're already on race number 2 of season 7 with the ISRC Truck Series. We're back to green flag action for the Dan O Plays 240 at Homestead. It's Mark Whitley, Shane Tarrant side by side as we roar down into turn number 1.
Big push from the 80 of Justin Sipes to Shane Therian there, but Shane's going to be able to back out of that position. Is it side by side? But there's a truck loose on the bottom lane. I think it's the 10 of Jared Talmadge sideways stacking up the field, and everybody's trying to make it around.
Trying to hold on steady. It's been the outside lane that's been the loose spot. It looks like for the 10. He has the major issues. Also trouble for drivers further on back. Justin Ford going to be spun around off the nose of Joshua Freed. But we stay green with no oncoming traffic for those back half drivers. Up front, it's all Mark Whitley. It's chaos erupts behind him. It's all the 77 leading lap number 1 as he has a major blink out. Instead, it will be Shane Tarrant taking a deep breath. Okay, everyone's having their major issues on lap 1, but we reset, and Zach, now the field knows. All right, breather. We got 1 lap in the books. Let's see how long we can stay green from here.
Oh, man, and went back and checked all that out, Sam. Yeah, it definitely was Justin Forbes there who got made the contact, got loose, and spun. But it was the 13 of Cedric Hunter who was also spun around there. He had that EOL penalty from his L1 penalty from last week at Daytona, and that started him out back, and he got caught up in that mix. So luckily, no contact between those 2 drivers, but it looks like it's going to be an early loss of time here. As you can see, the 13 of Hunter just trying to stay off the 4. He's going to spit himself out there and keep it together.
There was the replay of the carnage. Lap 1, exit of turn 2. We continue to stay green even after those spills. Justin Forbes immediately went through pit road to get his penalty served, as the 4 felt like he was having some troubles for himself. But up front, already over a half a second gap lead. Mark Whitley over Shane Tarrant, 3 laps in the book. And the 77 showing some major strength already, as he is just right back to where he was before. Zach, I mean, our most weightless driver of this series, no surprise. He wants to be up front pulling away.
He's doing a good job, and he's kind of doing almost the same exact thing we saw John Forbes do just a little while ago, where he just kind of drove away from the field and consistently kept putting the times through. And that's what we're going to have to watch with Whitley here. Is, he's looking really, really strong now. It looks like even farther back there, we got some 3-wide action. Looks like that's Joshua Stovall back there in 10th. They were just side-by-side 3-wide with Isaac Shelley along with Anthony Gaudio. So it's getting racy back here right outside the top 10. Even teammates of Nick Crawford and Christopher Norris.
Anthony Gaudio, a driver that thought he was going to win this race back in season 3, wasn't the case. He came away 3rd that night. And now here this evening, middle of the field, running around the fan favorite after last week, the UPS Brown machine of Josh Stovall. Honestly, it's been impressive to see the Brown crew stepping up and being such fan favorite last week. Here this week, I was curious to see what the 42 was going to have on speed. He proved that he can be very strong in super speedways, but in all other dynamic tracks, they're so different from the draft package that we see at Daytona, Talladega, the super speedway at Atlanta. Right now, the 42 proven he's a top 10 driver to watch out for.
And he is. He's looking very, very strong here to start this race off. And, didn't really know what to expect. We knew he was good at Daytona, but again, Daytona can kind of cloud you with, how really talented is a driver. But he's already shown here early lots of talent underneath this 42. And right here, all over the back of Ryan Bird, Bird started up in 3rd. So right now, Ryan Bird definitely losing some ground right now, maybe looking to save those tires. But again, the question is it worth it to give up that track position to save those tires, or do you just need to hold on to what you got?
I mean, we're getting a good, clear picture. Ryan Bird's going to be our driver of backing off, saving his tires. How's that going to work? And Mark Whitley's giving us a picture of if you go full send, how is that going to work out? Because the already a second ahead, O'Shane Terrian is going to be the 77 over the 83, but Ryan Bird trying to make a pass, getting past all over, I should say. 49 continuing to fall backwards. Other drivers on the move that we're seeing on screen, Isaiah Shelley, excited to see the 71 back out on a race again. Another returning driver that raced under season 2 and 3. The 71 was kind of a part-timer during that time. Great to see him out on track, and also saw very wide in the green. It's the 99 of Michael Miller in the black and green and white, trying to make his way forward. Up 6 positions is the rookie, as he's got Logan Brickey in the 29 on the outside, and Ethan Smith staying low.
That he does. He's also got Vincent Sora right there behind, side by side with Brickey. And Miller, you brought it up even in the qualifying order, Sam. He was very, very quick in practice, so good to see what that rookie can do, and he's already making up a ton of ground here early in this first run. And we'll just have to see how well do the tires last. That's always the question here at Homestead. Sometimes you can look like a hero and then it turns into a 0, and then other times it just continues to build like that. I mean, we're seeing big movement from a lot of people. I've seen Danny Cochran, he's already up to 24th, so you're seeing even Cody Reed up to 21st. Those two really making up big ground here early, starting back from that 38th and 37th position respectively.
As Dan Cochran moved up, kind of putting a squeeze on the 50 machine, Elson Garcia, he brushed the wall behind the 2 and lose a position or more, as Cochran's seen all the different lanes being utilized. And Homestead, such a unique track. Again, talk about how the outside lane is so quick. It's enabling drivers to really take off and make some big passes. But the inside group, we've seen drivers dominate on the long run just by staying low, protecting those tires. I mean, Zach, seems to be one of the crucial factors of where do you want to change and be during these types of races.
It really is. It's kind of a risk versus reward on what you want to do with your tires. Do you want to save them and run the bottom? You're a little bit slower early on, but it always seems to come back around, so to say. And that's what you got to play as a driver. You got to be able to go up there, make passes when you can, and not really overwork the tires. So we're seeing right now some good battling going on. Looks like Presley Sora under attack from the 74, Nick Crawford, who's going to make the maneuver there and get past that 12 machine. And Presley looks to be like one of the drivers, in my opinion, like Ryan Bird, who's just kind of really easing the tires in on this bottom side, not really trying to make too many aggressive moves. So we'll really have to watch that 49 and the 12 as this run continues on to see if that is the way to go, or is it something like the 74 Nick Crawford where he's making big moves, trying to get track position to go up and maybe develop some stage points for early in this race.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like the veterans of the series are being a lot more aggressive. I feel like those that understand the trucks a little bit more, they are on attack mode now to grab all this track position, while those that we've seen kind of be drivers of the past or rookies showing up, they seem to be more in the protective stage for this race. Here's 6th place runner of Ollie Fonseca. In front of him, Trent Jump, loving the history of this racetrack, as he's a former winner of the championship back in season 2. Ollie Fonseca, though, he's been inside the top 5. It feels like every single Homestead race, this track just works for the 24, but it's more at the long run where he just places himself in positions for such great finishes. See if tonight can be another magical evening for the 24 machine, as well as having behind him Larry Yingling, the rookie, Curious on what Larry's speed is going to have. We've seen on Wednesday nights in WSSRs, he's a 3-time champion of that series. What speed in the trucks will Larry have? I mean, Zach, I know that you know Larry a little better than I do. Is the truck something that the 67 is known for driving at all?
Not at all. Talking to Larry throughout the week, I talk to him very frequently throughout the week, just having little funny messages back and forth with the banter that me and him like to do. And he's told me that he thinks he's going to struggle here early just to get the feel for it. And it always seems like when he says he's going to struggle, he's the type of driver that does even better. So I see him up in 7th. I could see him definitely being a factor later in this event. As right now, it looks like another past champion of WSSR and ISRC is Vincent Soro. He was racing over this 99 of Michael Miller, and it looks like he's going to get clear of him to move himself up to 16th and see if that 15th can start to move his way forward. I know he's a little bit under the weather tonight, along with Christopher Morse. I know too, he's out there racing a little bit under the weather, so definitely can have a little bit of a factor on how you perform. And right here, big run from Ethan Smith down to 3.
And Ethan Smith, Vincent Sora, drivers that actually raced against one another for a championship all the way back in season 1. For Sora took the advantage during that Atlanta race. But here tonight, it's been multiple seasons waiting for this type of a moment. What would Ethan Smith's speed and Vincent Sora compare to one another? Both kind of took a hiatus from the ISRC Truck Series for a season or 2, or even more for Vincent Sora. And for Ethan Smith, middle of the pack for the 00 as you watch Sora able to make the pass work for that Sora performance machine.
Great job there getting that pass done in the 15 machine there. And he was putting it on the door of the 00, making sure that he could not get that run up off. And that's the key sometimes. You just got to really pin that guy on the bottom side, make them lose the momentum off the corner, and make that pass nice and easy. Is up ahead of him. Looks like the 49 under attack from Isaac Shelley here. Is Ryan Bird, again, continually just, sticking to that bottom lane, kind of just giving up a few spots. And I'm interested to see if it ever comes back to Ryan because, it really seems like right now a big conservation mode for that 49. And right now, 17 laps into the run, we're going to be nearing that halfway point of this run here. If we get to that lap 45 stage, we'll have to see if they can really start to make that headway like we're talking about.
And right now, looking at the last laps being placed for some of these drivers, Mark Whitley has been one of the slowest drivers in the past 3 laps. The 77 is being caught by Shane Terrian. Terrian is catching up, but the drivers behind Terrian are also starting to catch up to them. We could be seeing a collapse between 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, and the rest of the field closing in quickly here as we're getting closer and closer to the halfway of tonight's stage, as again, stage break will happen at the end of lap 45 unless there's a caution between lap 40 and 45. That would also count as our stage break, but less than a second now is the difference between 1st and 2nd, and those drivers, now we have not seen this battle before, Shane Terrian and Mark Whitley. This is going to be an interesting one to watch. Always was curious to see if Mark would come out and race on Wednesday nights and give a chance in the Cup cars, but it seems like it's going to be the trucks where we get to see the controller phenom of Shane Terrian up against the most witness driver of the series.
Very interesting to see. A little bit of a struggle, a little bit of a glimpse into Whitley here right now, struggling a little bit as the run goes on. And with how big a lead he got early, I was considering, like, if he can keep this momentum up, it's going to be very tough to beat. But it seems like the truck's slowly starting to fade away from is Thomas Green, Justin Sipes are really the drivers really in the 3rd and 4th position who are starting to make up a good little bit of ground as we're watching this battle back here with Trenton Jump, I believe, here in the 46. He's trying to work his way around Ali Fonseca, and you got Larry Yingling right there trying to maybe follow him through, but it's going to be Jump who holds on to that spot.
One of the drivers in the middle of that pack also is going to be Joshua Stovall, who's trying to make his way through this group as he's stuck in the middle. You can see in the brown machine, no fan favorite. Majority of the people rooting on this 42 machine. Inside of the top 10 is Nick Crawford snapping loose, and the 74 has to back out, but the 3 of Anthony Gaudio finding the momentum and speed. He'll duck it low. It's the battle going on for 8th place, and in front of him also a battle for 6th with Ali Fonseca and Larry Yingling as tire wear starting to show for these drivers. Again, 21 laps, still no yellow, but this is that zone where these tires really start to fall away.
That's exactly right, Sam. They really start to stack things up, and that's what we're getting right here is this stack up. The 42, the 3, the 74 all stacked on top of each other. Is now Crawford's going to go to the inside, but it's also going to be Presley Sora, who is one of the drivers really conserving his tires early, who's going to be making the bottom work, but it's going to be Crawford who clears both lanes there and drops in front of that 12 as now he looks to take his attack to the 42 of Joshua Stovall.
trying to get by Stovall. Stovall's making the outside lane work for himself. Continuing to try to march forward, but Presley Sora, again, that 12's making his way forward. Ryan Bird also trying to make the outside lane work. Might try to aim for the middle groove for the 49, but it looks like it's going to be a cluster of at least 3 drivers trying to move forward as efficiently as they can. But the only problem, they're about 3.5 seconds, a little bit over 3.5 seconds back from our leader, Mark Whitley, who is regaining his speed and starting to pull away. I think he might have been playing a little bit of cat and mouse as Stovall Crawford really squeezing on that outside groove.
Look at Presley Sora, though. Beautiful run through the center and off, and it's going to be the 42 is going to drop back low here and try to make the move with the outside run. And Presley's really impressing me right now with how he's able to roll the center and really carry the momentum off. But we got a yellow flag out.
Trouble, and it's Cody Reed in the 25. Issues for himself, facing the wrong way on the entry of turn 3. And our first caution of the day, right in the middle of the stage. And this is that awkward zone of, do you come into pit road or not?
And man, if we get a look at this too, this is a interesting moment. I think something we're going to see a little bit more of this season here is you're going to see Mason Cassidy in the 17 come for a side draft, make the contact to the left rear. But this is what's wild. This 25 sideways, and look at him. He just almost completely flies over. Luckily, it goes back on his wheels. Now, heavy damage to the rear end there, but it could have been much worse condition if he got stuck on his roof there and had the tow. Luckily, he'll be able to drive that truck back to pit road, and it doesn't seem like he had no required damage flag for the 25. So could have been much worse there with him lifting off the ground like that.
And that is battling for 23rd position at that contact zone, and a trouble for Cody Reed. He'll probably be part of the group that decides to go into pit road, which about half the field looks like we're going to be in a split decision on those that want to stay out, those that want to come into pit road. Expecting 4 tires and fuel for the stop, and those drivers that are pitting, this is a strategy call of you want stage points, and you're going to have to make some major passes here. And with how different the pace was, it was almost a full second, almost a second and a half difference on the pace. Zach, this is going to be a huge difference for those that just came to pit road.
Oof, I don't know if this is the last yellow we've seen before a stage in with the difference in speed we're going to see. It's going to definitely create some problems. It looks like Justin Forbes will get a lap back there to head back onto the lead lap. But man, Sam, this is going to be wild because it looks like all the way back to Cedric Hunter is who stayed out in the 14th position. So it's going to be about 14 trucks staying out, and we'll have Mark Whitley starting in 15th as the first truck off of pit road. So like you said, it was about a second and a half a lap time that had fell off those tires. Now this little period of this caution will cool the tires down for some of these guys, bring a little bit of lap time back in, but it's only going to take 3 to 4 laps before that heat builds back up and you'll start to see the fall off that was there before. So I don't expect these tires to hold on. I fully expect someone to win the stage that took a set, but with only 5 sets available here tonight, 160 lap race, you don't want to be burning sets very early, and especially if we get a few yellow flags.
Lights are still on, and interesting enough, Christopher Norris able to give us information. He loves giving us up in the booth our information on what the fuel mileage could possibly be before the race. But during the race, he also likes to give information to all drivers of what his tire wear was after his stint. He gave the information of 82.85 was the tire wear for himself. I'm curious, Zach, if you could translate to people, what does that mean if you're being told 82 to 85 in tire wear?
Well, that's a decent bit of wear, of course. So we go by percentages on iRacing. You have 100% when you come out with a brand new set of tires. So right front is going to be down to 82%. So he's going to have worn off 18% of that tire, so to say. And then 85, you're going to have about 15% off. So what that kind of tells me is the balance of the truck is kind of neutral when you can get that close to numbers. When it's very, very to the tight side where the truck doesn't want to turn, it doesn't want to stay to the bottom of the racetrack, it's usually when that tire, the wear on that right front tire will be much more dramatic than the right rear. So that close to tire wear is telling me that, at least the way Christopher Norris is driving it, he is wearing the right front a little bit more, but the truck should be pretty neutral with that, and maybe even a little bit loose off with that 85, because usually your right rear is going to wear a little bit less than that right front that takes the brunt of the load as you enter that corner.
As these drivers are getting ready, pace car lights are off. That means we are given the 1 to go marker for the field. We're going this time by. Curious if we also could bring up our weather conditions for this race. The field is been seeing that kind of cloud coverage come over tonight's race, as currently the ambient temperature is 84 degrees Fahrenheit. The track temp just dropped a degree to 99 Fahrenheit. The wind, it's moving. It's up to 6, but that movement of swirling action is what I'm mostly concerned about, currently facing east, but the humidity at 45%. But we'll see how that wind, if it cranks up to 10 miles per hour or more, that's when it kind of could affect these drivers here tonight. But track temps, not too bad, I would say, Zach, for this race to start out in our first 27 laps so far.
Not too bad at all, for sure. It's definitely on the cooler side of things. It can get very, very hot here at Homestead, so these drivers are definitely liking those conditions, I feel like.
As you saw there, wind temps, the wind speed cranked up quickly, as well as the direction changing. But it's time for us to change back from yellow to green. It's time to go back to green flag racing action. A little bit of a stall out on the outside, as Joshua Stovall was not able to get up into gear as quick as some of the other drivers wanted to. They're already showing that better drivers with speed are trying to take off, but trouble further on back. Just going to be Logan Brakey. Hard impact in the inside wall. Yellow flag is thrown by the admins, and that will reset us for another chaotic restart.
That we will. So admin thrown yellow there, and there was a lot happening there. I think there was a few trucks involved in that one. I believe the 7 of Bustle was involved in that one. Same like you said with Logan Brakey. His happened a little bit farther up, and this is only going to help those older tires just hang in that little bit longer as we check out what happened on this restart.
Again, with the stall out, multiple drivers trying to back off, and it looked like some drivers tried to gas up early. Chaos struck right as they crossed the start-finish line. There's Ryan Bird, and then with the checkup reaction, sends the 29 to the inside wall, and the worst brunt of it goes to Logan Brakey. But I believe there's also a few other drivers. Here's going to be from the 7's point of view, and then maybe we can get also from Ryan Bird, because from Ryan Bird in the 49, he's currently 31st on our board, but he was caught up in a real bad chain reaction of drivers expecting to go and just did not.
It happens very quickly when you got these huge lines of trucks, and you can see their Bird shoot out to the right there. It looks like the checkup from ahead of him, but you go see, I think, contact from Morales into the back of the 7. That turns him up into the truck on his outside, and from there Bustle is just trying to get it back straight, and that caution is going to be thrown, like you said, by the admin. So here another quick yellow like that, that's just helping out these old set of tires, and we'll see what kind of, if we can get a little bit of a view here of what happened with this checkup. And things like this happen so fast with the accordion effect, and you're going to see Bird just get shot out of there. I think he even got a little contact from Ethan Smith. So hard hit on the left front there of that truck.
I think the blimp view might give the better shot of what happened, but that other driver that was caught up was in the green and black. That was Ryan Ferraro late in the incident. You're going to see here the 49, a couple of other drivers trying to lean back, trying to get a better launch, but when they were given the green, some drivers took off, others didn't, and that's that odd scenario of you're trying to get the best launch you can, but when you're so far back, you kind of have to just wait for the driver in front of you to take off.
That you do, and like you said, maybe a little bit of laying back there from some of the rows ahead of that, and it can happen so quickly. I think even Sipes there just didn't get the greatest restart. Jump gets close to him, the same for the 99, and from there, Bird, he's trying to check up, but he's got a driver coming up to his back bumper. So, you can have a few checkups here and there, but once it passes 4 or 5 trucks in a row, it usually leads to some type of contact and some type of incident. So that's quickly what we saw there, and looks like Shane Therian holds on to the lead. Presley Sora was able to jump up the second there with the 42 of Stovall, jumping back to third with a little bit of a tough restart there for him. Also, Vincent Sora breaks his way up into the top 5, along with Danny Cochran up to 6. So Cochran's really made his way through from start back at 38th.
And one of our biggest movers so far, first of the drivers that entered pit road under our last caution, our first one, it was Mark Whitley. He's up to 12th position, able to gain a couple of spots. The other next driver is up to 15th of Thomas Green. And then there's a long string of all drivers from 17th on back with fresh rubber, getting ready to be given the green button to take off. First DNF of the night, going to be Tyler Dangler. It looks to be a loss of packet issue for the 19. And for looks like Logan Brakey, he'll be sitting in pit road trying to get his optional damage finished and complete as quickly as possible. And I think this could be a sign of drivers maybe feeling like this could be a long night. Might as well get all the repairs done now, and then maybe you'll get some of those laps back later on this evening.
I'd like to agree with that, Sam. It's important to get that damage fixed and get it done quickly, because that you have a guaranteed caution at least coming at 45. So really nothing to lose by getting that damage fixed here. You're going to get some type of reset and you'll be able to get back in that action. So hopefully your truck's fully ready to go once the stage is done and ready to go back to the second half of the race. But right now we got them all back double filed up. Shane Therian, our leader, and we'll get to see how he's going to be able to hold on with these older tires. Like you said, Whitley was able to get his way back to 11th, and he was the first one on 4 tires. So this is going to be quite the run here to start this, man, with those fresh tires getting a little bit closer.
We have our rookie is going to be our top 3 for this restart. Shane Tarian, as well as Presley Sora, then having Joshua Stovall. And then we have our first of 2 final 4 contenders from last season: Justin Campbell, Vincent Sora. They're going to be drivers to watch out for. Danny Cochran hoping for a good launch in 6th as the field get ready to get the green flag woven to get us back to racing action. Again, I want to say thank you to all those that are joining with us on your Monday night. If you're enjoying the ISRC Truck Series, remember to hit that like button down below the video, and as well remember to hit the subscribe button to be subscribed and be notified when we go live on Monday evening, as well as all the other nights that we give coverage. As the Dano Plays 240 is back underway, Shane Tarian gets a great launch. It's going to be the battle for 2nd position. Sora, Stovall side by side as they go down into turns 1 and 2.
Let's see what type of grip that 12 has. He was definitely saving his stuff, working his way forward as that caution came out, the first one. Let's see right here. He had a big run down the back straightaway. He might even look to the inside. Yes, he does. Presley Sora looking for an early lead. Here's his brother Vincent Sora going 3 wide on the 42-2.
And we might see a potential 4 wide. Mark Whitley is flying behind this group. He's behind the wall of 3 wide action. The 77 in the black, in yellow and red, trying to make his way forward in the 77. Mark Whitley is the first driver with 4 freshies compared to the rest of the field, and it's around 25 lap difference in tires, and you can see visibly how different the tire wear is. He's just able to place that machine in quicker spots and more narrow positions and have the grip to make it work as Sora takes the lead position. He continues to try to race on, but it's really just a wait and see on when the 77 is going to take that lead position back, because he's slicing through this field like he's a hot knife through butter. And once again, Mark Whitley is back in the top 3.
And he is jumping in front of the 15 of Vincent Sora there, who's going to look to maybe make hold of the positions right here. Is right now the 77 just with so much more grip is able to make that pass quickly, as the next driver on 4 tires is going to be Thomas Green, the 18. So he's already building that gap that he's going to need here with 10 to go before when we come back around for the stage.
And you can just see a massive wave of just trucks on the backstretch, all in different lanes, 3 wide, almost all the way through the field from 10th on back. And it is starting to cluster up. If you got 4 fresh tires, you hope not to be caught, but there they go. Caught and spun. It's Stovall in the middle of the field. Everyone tries to scatter. They're piling up. In the middle of the front stretch is Calamity. It's the big one here at Homestead.
And there it is, Sam. Caution starting to pile up. 3rd one of the night here in the first 35 laps. And that right there, if you're going to say there's a big one, that was the big one, folks. Is it kind of clogs up when you got a pit wall like that on the front straightaway when a wreck happens in front of the field. And really, it was just old tires stacked up with new tires coming and a lot of drivers just going for it.
Yeah, it's in front of these drivers. It's around Stitz and others that were trying to get around one another, but just small little taps, and a lot of drivers not recognizing, not seeing the smoke that there's Calamity ahead and just piling in. You already see a couple of what we call arc brake penalties, drivers not slowing down for the carnage in front of them, and madness just erupts in the back half of the field. As this caution, we're still not done with this stage just yet. We're gonna still have one more restart before the stage is over, but it was around, I would say, the 80 machine of Justin Sipes that in 12th position. A lot of movement was happening around that area of the track as they were all on top of one another, coming off the exit of turn number 4. but it was just chaos, Zach, as they were all just racing on top and little nicks here and there. And I believe this is going to be the replay of drivers just on top of one another, small little bumps. There's this drift by Shane Tarian, but then everyone was trying to make a daring move to the inside outside, and someone got clipped. It was Stitz and I believe Ollie Fonseca that get into the 42. In this shot, you're just going to see the smoke pile up of everyone driving into each other in the back half.
It really looked like a huge stack up was happening with the older tires. The new tires were on top of them, and a lot of the new tires were having big runs. And people personally didn't really think it was going to be 3 wide, I think, at that point. And it was Ali Fonseca and Justin Sipes who made contact there. Nick Crawford barely scathed through that. It was right behind it, and really it affected most of the field behind that group. It wasn't even really the guys involved with the first start of it that got involved with it. It was really the grouping behind that just had nowhere to go. So tough break, but that's what happens when you have these different, tire sets really out here. And even with this caution here, the likes of like Presley Sora, Vincent Sora, Justin Campbell, Shane Thayer, these guys who stayed on the old tires, they've done a good job to keep a lot of this track position where you're going to see everybody come back down at 45 and change 4 tires, and they're going to have an extra set to work with later in this race. So good job on them.
Yeah, and it looks to be the for one and only driver with true required damage was Jarrett Talmadge in the 10 machine, as he lost his front bumper and had a lot of front end damage that he is getting repaired. No drivers officially have left just yet. Tyler Dangler, who had packet loss issues, he's going to be back out on track. But looking at the report, it is around 24th on back. We're involved in some way with this wreck. So that is over 15 drivers that got some type of nick that were forced to pit road. There could have been even more that were involved with that wreck that just decided not to come to pit road.
That's for sure. It's a wild moment there early in this race with that giant of a wreck, and definitely going to, like you said, be some possible ARCA brake penalties, as they like to call it. And yeah, it's tough when you see a wreck like that happen. It's hard not to get involved in it sometimes, but you just got to do your best to get slowed down and get around it. But looks like a few definitely took some damage, but at the same time, you got some time to get things fixed up here before the stage. You got another guaranteed caution at least coming here at 45, so they have time to work on those trucks and get them back in shape.
This next restart going to be a critical one. Again, at the stage break, top 10 drivers get bonus points. If you win the stage, get 10 bonus points. Second gets 9. 8 goes to third and continues to dwindle down until we get to 10th place, where you only get 1 bonus point for yourself. All of the drivers outside the top 10 do not get those stage bonus points, and it's either going to be at the time of a yellow being thrown before lap 45 or at the end of lap 45 that we will see the stage caution be thrown. This next restart, it's going to be a shootout. And Zach, due to the fact that Mark Whitley is the only driver with 4 fresh tires to get by this small little cluster that we have from 2nd down to 7th, this is still going to be a dramatic restart here with the tire difference that we've already seen.
Oh, for sure. Like you said, Whitley, he's in the clear here. He's likes exactly how he feels right now starting first. He's got no worries with anybody around him, because really from 7th on back is those new tires, and they're still going to have to navigate around the other 5 trucks in between them and Mark Whitley. So it's going to be quite the dash here. Let's see how it is handled by some of these drivers, because they know everybody's willing to risk it here early for stage points. But if you go out here and wreck like we just seen, you're going to be losing not only on those stage points, but losing out on big race points. So you got to be smart and aggressive at the same time.
Only driver still in pit road is Shane Wyatt, who currently is 2 laps down, going to be 3 laps down once we take this restart. Logan Brakey going to be 3 laps down, Tyler Dangler 9, and Justin Forbes 1 lap down. Everyone else in the field on the lead lap and ready to get back to green flag racing. This is the final restart of the stage. Who will be inside the top 10 once the next yellow comes out? Let's find out. Mark Whitley with a great launch. He's already going to be a truck link ahead. Everyone else side by side as they enter down into turn number 1.
Great start there from Whitley, of course, out front, and he's able to get a good jump on the field. But it's contact there between the 9 and the 12 as they exit off a 2, but Sora's going to hold on for now as the next Sora of Vincent's going to come through and looking for 3rd.
The Sora brothers trying to make the march to get inside of the top 3 for the both of them. Vincent Sora, the younger brother, going to be stuck. We could see the 3 wide, almost 4 wide action. Stuck behind Larry Yingling and Christopher Norris get close, but it's Shane Terring and Old Tires wiggling in the middle. He doesn't feel safe, but they're going to stay 3 wide from 10th on back. Old Tires still fading quickly behind. One driver skeeving into the outside wall is Justin Campbell. The rest of the field, they still stay 3 wide, but for how long as they exit out of turn 2?
Man, oh man, 3 wide. How long can it last for? That's for sure, Sam. As Larry Yingling utilizing those tires, he's done a good job to carve his way through. And now it's going to be Christopher Norris following this 67, and he's finding the way through too. So it's going to be the 67 and the 38 who are looking to take the 2nd and 3rd positions here before this stage ends. But if a caution comes out now, it freezes the field.
It will freeze the field at the time of caution, and those drivers that are on Old Tires still fighting for everything. Presley Sora still up there. Vincent Sora still holding strong. Justin Campbell's trying to stay in the top 10. Ollie Fonseca, though, down to the apron for the 24. The new tires don't hold out for himself. As our top 4 getting a little bit more solidified on where they're at, but off the exit turn 4, it's going to be 2 laps to go before the stage yellow will be thrown, but I don't think they're going to stay like that for long as trouble erupts. It's Justin Campbell spun around.
Oh man, right here, big incident off the exit of 4
oh,
and
no!
the 4.
Justin Forbes, I had a feeling somebody wasn't going to whoa up, and it's the 4 clobbering the 9.
Yeah, I think here he got a little misguided by the smoke and just unfortunately didn't get slowed down and clobbered the 9 there. But we'll see what exactly happened here off the exit. And, Justin Campbell on those older tires here struggling. He's going to have the likes of Ethan Smith behind him. And I think he just kind of maybe even lost it by himself. I'm not sure if there was exactly contact. I'd have to go back and check that out myself. But I'm pretty sure he just got loose by himself because he confirmed that in the driver's chat.
Yeah, I'm going to see multiple different views of this one. Here's another look from the blimp view. It was an outside point of view of where drivers were running. Campbell on the inside. Ethan Smith trying to stay off the quarter panel. It looks like a little bit of slap from Garcia. Just was loose and finally got finished off. And then here comes the 4. Just not able to slow up in time. There's Ryan Ferraro also spun around in the 34 before that incident. Looks like a couple of other drivers having some slides after the fact, but Campbell, I don't think being T-boned was on his bingo card for tonight, but luckily not required damage, so his race will continue on. But obviously you never want to have that rear end damage that you grab for yourself.
That's for sure, Sam. You definitely don't want that. And we've had some interesting strategy here even play out. Looks like Cody Reed, Anthony Gaudio, Michael Bussell, Nick Crawford, and Ryan Bird will be electing to stay out here. So that's interesting strategy call from that grouping, but we'll see how it all shakes out for them here. I mean, only 7 laps on the tires, and a lot of those laps were caution laps. So we'll see how well they can hold up with those tires. But I think tires are going to be very, very important. But at the same time, burning 2 sets in the first stage is not something you want to be doing.
You absolutely don't. And for the drivers staying out, just getting that little bit of wear and tear on your tires, I think they'll still be able to stay up front. It's just once we get into the longer run, they're going to be feeling that pain. But certainly a crazy race we got to see here tonight as the field is getting prepared for this next launch for themselves. Usually at this time, we would talk to our stage winner, Mark Whitley, sadly not there to be talked to. So for us here, Cody Reed still stays up front. If we have another caution, we'll see if we can talk to a different driver. But Zach, stage is over. Now it's all about the end game from this point on. With how chaotic we got to see those first 45 laps be, I don't know if any of these drivers really feel safe at this point, as our first official DNF of the night will be Shane Wyatt. Everyone else trying to stay out on track as long as possible.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to feel very safe after that first stage. I think they've learned that, if you get a tire difference, if you get these, really it was that first caution that kind of brought this all together. We had a very clean run up to that point, and then, you get the tire differences, people trying to make very aggressive moves, Old Tires just trying to really hold their station, and you got to have a lot of patience. And when it stacks up and the track gets clogged up, you got some drivers that sometimes make the wrong decision, and it just makes things go from bad already to worse. And that's what we've seen here in this first stage. But now I think with everybody on somewhat similar tires here, we're going to start to see another longer run progress, or will we see the chaos continue? That's going to be the question we got to ask ourselves when this green flag gets back out here in the next few moments.
Yeah, and first drivers with the freshest rubber out on track going to be Christopher Norris. Presley Sora back in 13th and 14th position. Everyone else in front of them topped off on fuel. Ryan Bird in 5th place. Had major damage. They had to sit in pit road to get repaired. So we'll see how the 49 get Frey staying up front, or will he become unraveled as we go green here tonight. I want to say thank you so much to all those that are watching with us here this evening. I know the fan favorite's been the 42 of Joshua Stovall, and that 42 machine only back in 31st position, still trying to get damage repaired fully. Maybe see if he can climb through the field later on here this evening, as getting ready for this restart. Going to be on lap 48 of 160, a little bit longer than what we've seen in the past. Most mile-and-a-half tracks were 150 laps. We added that extra 10 laps. Let's see how that could change the aspect of tonight. But we are ready to get back to green flag action for race number 2 for season 7. The Dano Plays 240 at Homestead is back underway for Cody Reed, Anthony Gaudio, as we roar down into turn number 1.
Great start from the outside line. That's the teammates at SDR. They're lined up and timing that restart, but that's also going to allow Mark Whitley a very clean start, as he's going to be the first car on the fresh 4 tires, and he's going to be ripping the top. Look for a big run here coming down the back straightaway.
Trying to find that extra little bit of speed if possible for Mark Whitley here on this launch if possible, but he's going to be stuck right behind those SDR drivers, Nick Crawford, Cody Reed, and he'll try to sneak through the middle is Mark Whitley. Cody Reed going to be putting a little bit of a pinch, not able to find that zone just yet to make a pass, and they'll stay clustered up, our top 3. Curious though, how do you want to race if you're Nick Crawford and Cody Reed? Reed was very aggressive on his tires under the first go before he was involved in our first wreck of the day. Will the 25 try to match the speed of the 77? Would Nick Crawford do the same, or do they run at their own pace that maybe will be a little bit slower?
That's a great question to ask, especially with a little bit older tires. You think they're going to have to pace themselves, but I think they're maybe hoping for a little bit of chaos to ensue. They're hoping that we might stay green for 10 to 15 laps before we get a yellow, and then they'll be looking to come back down to get some tires to put them on even playing field. But we'll just have to see how that works out. It looks like Yingling going to work his way as the Ryan Bird there, big checkup in the entry to 1, and that's going to allow Presley Sora now side by side with Larry Yingling as they're going to battle for that 8th position.
Trying to make their way forward if possible, and Justin Sipes in close to almost spinning another driver out with some close racing there. It's Thomas Green and the 80 machine want to be close if possible. It'd be highly unfortunate if the teammates from Planet Sim Racing took each other out, but that 80 machine just looks so uncomfortable off the exit. But man, does he keep his foot on the throttle and makes the exit look good.
And he does. This Sipes was very, very strong on that first long run of the race too. Had some great pace. Love to see how he can hold on along with Thomas Green here. Green's going to be looking to carry a run off the exit, but look, you see that it's a 71 covers that off of Isaac Shelley. Green had to check up a little bit. That got him loose, and that is so easy to do, as now the Sora brothers trying to work their way on the bottom groove here past the 67 of Larry Yingling, but now Yingling going to get to the quarter panel of Sipes, as everybody fighting for that vital track position.
Trying to find a track position that's going to work for them here, as going to be seeing a little bit of 3 wide in front of Vincent Sora. It's his brother Presley Sora in the 12 that was thinking about going 3 wide. Backs out, lets Sipes drop down low, and you can get a sense of riding on board with the 15, how claustrophobic it feels at times, and also the lack of vision in front of you. You're kind of at the mercy of the driver in front of you if there's any trouble ahead. It's kind of why we saw a lot of the incidences earlier on, and with the big one of drivers ARCA breaking in, visibility can be difficult, especially with how close some of these drivers are racing around one another.
That is, it's definitely very easy to get somewhat claustrophobic while you're in these moments right here. Sipes was closing the door on the 49. Bird was looking back to the outside. Now the 80 of Sipes putting it on the door of the 12 of Presley Sora, and look, it just makes the racing so tough when you're this stacked up with each other, and it makes the drafting, the side drafting, all that much more important. As you can see there on the entry, look at them just diving into the inside, but the outside here, because they back it up like that, they're going to be able to carry a very, very good run here off. But Sora able to carry more speed entry and off exit. That's impressive to see, but right here, the tough position is he's going to get side drafted back.
Presley Sora racing, trying to make his way forward. Again, leading the drivers who got the 4 fresh tires under this most recent pit stop. Trying to run down the likes of Mark Whitley, Nick Crawford, Cody Reed ahead of them. At the moment, inside of row, just seems to be stalling out at this moment. We really didn't see that transition until we were about 15 to 20 laps into this run. So that means for the 12, the 15, also for the 2, they're stuck here. It's kind of salvage, survive until you see that swing in the next 10 laps or so.
That definitely is. We'll see, when that swing, so to say, happens. Like you said, around 15 laps is usually that turning point. And right now, Presley Sora doing a good job at gaining that track position back that he lost here in that, with the couple guys staying out like he did. So we'll see that the 12 can do. And he's also got to remember the 12, the 15 here, both of those drivers, extra set of tires in the pit road, where compared to Larry Yingling, Mark Whitley, Thomas Green, a lot of those drivers, they've used an extra set compared to those two, and that's going to give them more options. If we get some cautions later in this race, it's going to put you in a tough position.
And it certainly could be, especially with the way we've seen some of these races in the past be ran. Late cautions used to be the norm for the ISRC Truck Series. I always felt like with 20 laps to go, there would always be a late caution of someone just having a mental slip up that would reset the field, and those that saved that extra set would always be rewarded. Here's some 3-wide action in the middle of the field. Drivers trying to make their way forward. This is for 18th, 19th, and 20th position. Seeing Eric Kralik able to make the pass forward, but stuck in the middle is going to be the 7 of Michael Bustle, who's really struggling and kind of becoming a pinball machine. He is the ball being pushed around currently.
That he is, and he stayed out on those a little bit older tires there, about 7 laps older than this group. And he's the one that's really fell back from the grouping that stayed out there at top 5. And right now, just dropping back outside the top 20. He's going to have the legs of the 5 with Dakota Moniz there looking to his inside, along with the 99 of Michael Miller. So everybody's stacking up again, trying to get past each other. And that's when you see when incidents happen. And when you get these huge stack ups, all it takes is one person to have to lift at the wrong time, another person's not paying attention, and you get people running into each other. And next thing you know, we're having another yellow.
Middle of the field still on top of one another, 2 wide, 3 wide, all the way through. A little bit of single file racing is happening inside of our top 10, but a lot of the action's been in the middle of the field. The drivers not really given a lot of space, but one of our biggest movers had to start at the end after a poor qualifying run. Danny Cochran trying to stay inside of the top 10 and maybe advance forward is the 2 machine who runs 10th now, trying to figure out how to get by Isaiah Shelley and Anthony Gaudio that are just in front of this 2 machine.
It's going to be 3 wide here with Justin Sipes up top, Isaac Shelley in the middle, Danny Cochran on the bottom. And that too, like you said, he's been making his way through, really making some great passes. But it's going to be tough to make a 3-wide pass here. That outside line always just going to be that little bit more preferred. But he's going to try to put the side draft on this 71 of Isaac Shelley, who, again, Shelley, I believe, also is another driver on a little bit older tires here than this grouping. Actually, sorry, no, he's on the same set of tires. So he's battling with these guys straight up, but still trying to hold on to that position with Cochran trying to move up tonight.
Doing his best to try to stay up here as quickly as possible. But Danny Cochran, how well can he stay in this position for himself? The 2 looking strong. How does he get by Sipes and Anthony Gaudio? Looks like the 80 machine's going to be in the spearhead for the 2 of Danny Cochran. Wherever Sipes go, that's where Cochran's going.
Another 3-wide move here to the bottom. See if he can make it happen. Bottom of 3 and 4 is going to be a little bit better, in my opinion, than 1 and 2. 1 and 2 is the top groove. Always seems to work a little better, but a little bit loose condition from Sipes right there. Cochran, good heads up move to move low there, because that could have been a major incident there, as now the 2's going to slide up and try to make a move here last. But it is so tough when you're 3 wide there to not make a contact.
Extremely tough, and right now Danny Cochran and Sipes continue to go back and forth, and as this run continues to go back and forth, looking at other positional notes as Gaudio gets a huge bump from Sipes, and Danny Cochran taking the advantage of that bump. The 2 able to move forward, but Nick Crawford, I want to give note of our leader right now. He's defended over Mark Whitley and now starting to gap over the 77.
I tell you what, Nick Crawford looking very strong on a little bit older tires, and I think even Crawford kind of really eased those tires in. Like I said, a lot of those laps were caution laps, and he kind of didn't really push on those fresher tires, and it showed that, hey, the clean air has worked well for him, and I mean, he's 3/10 faster than really anybody around him, so that's really showing me that he is pushing hard. And I even talked to him a little bit before the night, and he talked to John Forbes, his teammate, who dominated this race last season, and he was really, really able to, I think, learn and pick up a few things that maybe other drivers don't really have figured out yet, and I think he's applying himself very, very well so far. So good job on Nick Crawford to be holding on to what he's got. It's over a 2.1 second gap back to Whitley, who is actually starting to slide back into the clutches of Thomas Green. Cody Reed still hanging on the fourth with Presley Sora and Vincent Sora, both closing in with Cochran now up even the seventh. This battle is getting more and more heated the farther we get into this race.
They certainly are. Cody Reed, he is going to be in trouble here. These drivers behind the 25 are just so much faster. The grip level, the strength is showing as this run progresses forward. And also for Cody, he was trying to keep up with our top two, and it just seemed like the overworking of the tires has backfired for Reed. He was showing some good strength, but right now trying his best to defend for at least for the top 5 positions.
That he is. He's trying to hold on, but ooh, there's a car wrecked down on the inside there. I'm not sure who that is. I think it might have been the 10 of Derek Talmadge, and he gets reset there luckily before anything happens. I think his truck just completely broke going down the back straightaway. So the 10 there almost bringing out the yellow. That would have been not a fan favorite moment there from a lot of drivers, but looks like he'll get himself reset back to pit road, as I think we'll take a look and see exactly what happened. I'm not sure if this is one of those moments where you're just like, I give up on the night and I'm just going to turn left and wreck the truck, or is this, maybe an issue where his screen went black? I mean, there's always technical issues that could pop up. So very weird scenario there as he wrecks right back almost onto the surface and has to reset. So that scared a few people for sure, but we stay green. And right now, look at the 13th Cedric Hunter, who's had an up and down night involved in multiple incidents. He's back up to 25th and trying to make his way back forward.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where you're really terrified in the moment of, okay, is that car going to come back up as Justin Forbes in the 4 continues to struggle? Fan favorite of Joshua Stovall. It just looks like too much damage after being involved in the big one. He's now just salvaging a night, hoping for more drivers get knocked out of this race. But you can already see just by those miles per hour on our lower third graphics, you need to be in at least the 150s through the corner, and he is not there for himself, or much slower than what the rest of the field is running right now by himself.
And especially on that straightaway too, only getting up to about 167, where you're going to need to be climbing up to almost the upper 180s almost down the back straightaway. So it's definitely a tough position to be in when you're limping around with a truck like this, but if he gets a few more cautions, you never know. They should have still some time to fix up on that truck with the dents and dings we see in it. So we'll see how they can get that worked out if we do have a few more yellows under the night. But the battling still raging on up towards the front of the field. It looks like right now the 17 of Mason Cassidy battling along with the 24 of Ali Fonseca. All these drivers stacked up around the 12th, 13th positions.
Still on top of one another, and as this run progresses forward, I mean, Zach, I know we've been staying green for a decent amount of time. Some drivers getting to that outside of wall as they've been just ripping the top with tire wear. But pit stops, what is the number we're looking for if we stay green that we're looking to see, maybe see that first green flag pit stop?
Well, that's a huge question right now, especially with us getting the stage there a little bit early into the into the zone. I don't believe that we're going to be able to really see someone one-stop this. I think it's going to be outside that range. So I think, maybe a few will try to play that strategy of saving the fuel to make the one-stop happen, but you're definitely going to have to save a few laps of fuel to make that happen on both sides of the run, not just one side of the run. You're going to save a few laps on both sides. So that always makes it, in my opinion, a little bit more tough. So we'll have to see where the strategy really comes in, but we went back green around that lap 48 moment. So I'd expect a lot of drivers probably going to be looking around lap 100, maybe around 90 to try to make a pit stop and then make another later around 130.
Everyone trying to stay on track and currently on board with Shane Tarian as he's trying to make his march forward right now behind Danny Cochran in 5th place. And Shane, one of those drivers that was up front trying to challenge the likes of Mark Whitley, and he is closing here quickly.
That he is. And I tell you who else is really flying at the moment is Vincent Sora. So we're seeing a lot of people make time up, and look at Vincent Sora. He's going to make the move to make the pass up to 2nd. And, with really the lap times we're seeing right now, with only 26 laps on the tires. I mean, this was about where the tires really started to fall into that 35-second range. Not sure if Whitley's struggling a little bit, but I do see him. He's actually very, very loose right now with that truck. So, and if he was saving fuel, the other thing I was about to count is if he's saving fuel, you wouldn't be running that top side. So I think right now, just a little bit of a track change or whatever has really thrown this 77 off, and he's going to be slipping back to third. And right behind him, Shane Therian, he's coming back forward. And Shane did a really good job of really slowly, methodically working his way through, where a lot of these guys ahead of him really pushed hard to get up through. The 83 really took his time more, and maybe that's going to prevail for him the longer this run goes. He's battling with the likes of the two of Danny Cochran.
Where can you find any advantage currently, as seeing some of the battles on screen? And currently, let's watch out. Presley Sora again falling back to sixth on his brother. Vincent Sora up to second. Still trying to see if that 15 can catch up to Nick Crawford. But seeing all these drivers and the way they're running, here's your current top five. It's Nick Crawford, Vincent Sora, Mark Whitley, Shane Therian, and Danny Cochran trying to see if they can hold position, as fifth place battle is under fire with Presley Sora. I gotta say, as we're inching closer and closer to halfway, the racing action continues to roar on. But for us here up the move, we're gonna take our first commercial break of the night, as some drivers are dealing with some damage just leaving pit road. But you won't miss a thing, as we're gonna go side by side for tonight's racing action. You are watching the Dan O Blaze 240 here at Homestead. Incredible racing. When we come back, it should be pit stops right around the corner. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are so sorry. We have to go to a Be Right Back screen. We're having some technical issues we hope to get fixed. We'll be back right after this. We're going to go to a Be Right Back screen. But again, we'll try to be back as soon as possible. And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. We thank you so much for your patience with us as we are back. The caution while we were under commercial break was Anthony Audio going for a spin by himself. We are back to green flag action, though, and up front, it's Nick Crawford and Mark Whitley going to be your front runners as we are back to green flag action. A little bit of late blocking, back around sixth position. But for us here tonight, thank you so much for joining with us. My name is Sam Dyer. With me up in the booth is Zach Hall. Running productions is Robert Moyer Jr. as you are watching the ISRC Lariat Productions Truck Series, race number 2 of the Dan O Plays 240. And already seen a lot of the field split up from one another. Looking like, Zach, the field restart wasn't as clean as they were hoping for.
That it definitely did look to be. It was wild there in chaos for a moment, and right now we're seeing some big moves. There's Trenton Jump trying to work to the outside of Michael Bustle there, and the 7 machine down the front straightaway, and 46 trying to claw his way back forward. As you know, Jump, a past winner here at Homestead, he definitely wants to get right up in that mix, and a past champion here. Doesn't want to start the season in a hole.
Absolutely not. Thinking back to that season 2 championship, it was a grueler, and all the beating and banging that happened that night of trying to win a championship, and ultimately came away with the gold. Here this evening, though, it's got a little bit more work to do so, as the field trying to continue to stay green as we're officially into the second half of this race. Stage 1 was a chaotic one. We've had a couple of cautions here and there since our stage break at lap 45, but ultimately it's been a lot more clean and green race, and I think that's what we're expecting from here on out. Question now is, when would you like to make that final pit stop at the time that we had our last caution?
That is the great point, Sam, there. Yeah, it's going to be interesting now because it's for sure a one stop and really no reason to save any fuel. Really, even the factor of tires kind of changes a little bit because our runs are going to be a little bit shorter. They're going to be around 40 laps in my opinion here this time, instead of around that 53 mark where we could go on fuel. So about 13 laps shorter than what a full stint would be. So you can push these tires just that little bit harder. So I think you're going to see a few drivers definitely risking it for sure here as we ride on board Christopher Norris. And while this is going on up front, we got a battle for the lead. Mark Whitley trying to take back claim to it as he's on the outside of the 74, the 77, the 74, race side by side off of 4.
Side by side, off of 4. Contact for Nick Crawford and Mark Whitley. They hold steady for now, but Mark Whitley takes the advantage after the tap. You see Justin Forbes, that puff of smoke was from the 4, slipping off the exit of the corner. But that small little tap advantage to the 77, and for Nick Crawford, he just watches the Mark Whitley scamper away, and that's got to be a frustrating mental situation knowing you're battling for the lead, and it was that one little tap that could be costing you a chance.
It definitely is like a little bit frustrating when you had that little slip up and it quits the battle that you had. But for Nick Crawford, I think the big thing he needs to take into account here is he was on pretty much the same exact tires as we found, I found out under our break there. And Mark Whitley didn't take tires under that last pit stop before this previous one. So he was on the same set of tires that pretty much Nick Crawford was also. So it made a lot of sense to me that he didn't really gain the time that we thought he would with fresher tires. And really, Whitley started to really struggle as the run went on. So if I'm Crawford, I kind of take some solace in that and say, hey, okay, if I can just stay somewhat close here, I might be able to stay to this glued to the 77. And if he starts to struggle, I'll be the first one to pounce, because really it's these two who have took off while the rest of the field, such as Thomas Green, and then really from fourth on back of Vincent Sora, Danny Cochran, Shane Therian, these guys are all super saving right now when it comes to the tires. And farther back, it looks like Justin Sipes a little bit sideways as we had a slide through 1 and 2. So as the battles were up front, Keaton up farther back too, as it looks like now Sipes back to 15th.
Sipe falls down, but for the drivers up front, they continue to fight back and forth, and Justin Sipes has been just having a rough evening for the 80 machine. Got involved with a big one, and then has just had small little moments here or there. And with how close everyone's been on top of one another, it's no surprise that we've seen some drivers just naturally have a tough evening so far. As looking back from Sipe, you get to see the 7, and seeing how these drivers are running, right on board with Jesse Thorna. Looking back at some of these drivers that are just trying to get into the top 15, which, with how big of a field we had entering tonight, 39 drivers, for some, a top 15 finish would feel like a win for some.
Definitely so. And I mean, if you look at Michael Bustle there in the 7 machine, I mean, he started all the way back in the 36th position. He's done a good job to kind of rebound after, really falling back into the clutches of the field after that first start, that last start there with the older tires, where he was really struggling there. Now back on even footing with everybody, he's able to really hold station in 17th. I think that'd be a good run for the first time for this number 7 on the track.
Debut for Michael Bustler, who actually, he was just getting registered in to this league mere minutes before we started qualifying, so he's happy to be on track. A driver who's happy that we're in a different track, gotta say, is the 70 of Stephen McComas, who really had a rough Daytona debut race for the 70 machine, but here tonight running 23rd and happy, after having a rough first race, having a quiet race where you're not talked about a lot. I think you take that as a positive for drivers that are running a little bit further back in the pack.
Oh, for sure. You definitely want to have a quiet night, so to say. It's better than sometimes having a loud night, because a lot of times loud nights are either you're winning and dominating, or you're having a lot of mistakes and a lot of issues. So if you can have a quiet night, sometimes it's just better to fly under that radar. And right now, that 70 is definitely doing that so far with a top 23 run at the moment. But as all this has been shaken up, again, Whitley and Crawford, they kept their battle going. It was side by side just moments ago. Crawford fell back, now is back behind him. But these two definitely very willing to push these trucks. And right now, from the lap time looks of things, really the fastest trucks out there other than Danny Cochran.
Yeah, I mean, they've just been flying at this moment. And I think it's shocking to see that we've watched this field already 92 laps in, that maybe they haven't tried to stick with the trends of what Mark Whitley and Nick Crawford are doing, which is just go full bore and good luck on your tires later on in the run, and hope that it's still underneath you by the end of maybe the next caution or whenever you have to go into pit road, because it seems like driving as quickly as you can, kind of similar to the next gen cars that we see on Wednesday night and soon to be also on Tuesdays starting tomorrow and Thursdays starting this week. It seems like more aggressiveness kind of gets rewarded at the end of some of these races.
It really does, and it really comes down a lot of times depending on how the trucks or how the cars, so to say, drive. We got a slow truck there on the front straightaway. I'm not sure exactly who
Justin
that
once
is.
again.
Oh yeah,
I
it
believe
looks like
it's Justin
Forbes.
again.
Yeah.
Justin Forbes for the 4. His struggles and woes off the exit of turn 4 just continue on. We stay green, even with the 4 struggling. Again, for Justin Forbes, I kind of say this, he runs on Wednesday nights with WSSR, very new to iRacing, was just able to get his iRacing, his iRating up to the limit. There is a low bar that you have to hit. There is no max cap that was removed for this season, but a lot of drivers trying to get their own experience level. And for Justin Forbes, he is on the very limited experience and trying to grow. One of the drivers on a high experience level, that's the driver we hop on board with in the 12 machine. Preston Sora trying to make his way forward as much as he can, but right now Zach, I think shockingly back in 16th position.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what's happened to him. I know, that first run of the race, he really seemed to be saving the tires, kind of working them in easy by running the bottom. But right here, I mean, he's given up 7 seconds to our leaders. And, it's one thing to save tires, folks, but when you got, really only another 25 laps before I really think pit stops will start to happen again, 7 seconds is a ton of time to make up. So I don't know if a little bit of a struggle is happening here of this run for the 12. The track might be going through a little bit of change as the sun starts to dip lower and lower into the sky as you see more and more smoke on the back straightaways. If you guys struggle with that, as I think again Justin Forbes had another moment in the 4 machine, so he's having a tough night. But it's definitely one of those things where the track temperature's dropping, as you can see there from our weather on the screen below, and even just the rubber being laid on the track can sometimes just change how these things drive. And it looks like maybe the 12 is going for a little bit more conservative approach, or just starting to lose the balance.
Great deal, trying to make his way through this March as he is really making that outside lane work. But yeah, the weather conditions, they continue to see how it's going to cool off. The real partly cloudy. We've seen a lot of cloud coverage here tonight. That's when the track gets very gloomy and dims down. That's when the cloud is over and the track will cool off. As Larry Yingling, Joshua Freed, and out in the middle, it's Sipes sticking it and trying to make this middle groove work as the battling for 9th place. What a run. And one of the drivers, we always talk about growth throughout all these leagues that we've covered for many different seasons. We've covered the ISRC since the inception of this truck series. And Joshua Freed, one of those drivers, initially, sadly we could say, was known for he's going to bring out at least 1 or 2 cautions, had a lot of trouble early on when his series beginnings. But recently, in the last few seasons, more and more consistently inside the top 15. Right now, running and fighting for this 9th place position.
It's definitely fun to see the growth of drivers, man. I mean, we've seen the likes. I mean, we've got on the screen there, Christopher Norris. You look back to his first season here. I mean, he was definitely having a lot of issues. And then, I mean, now he's to the point where he's made the Final Four twice in his career here at ISRC, won races. So you can show growth. And I think that's the one thing that I love seeing more than anything from a driver is learning their situation and just getting better and better as the race goes on and as their career goes on. And that's what you got to do. If you're regressing, you got to figure something out, because it's always about progressing in my book. If you're at least gaining on bettering yourself, then one day you will be fighting for those wins that you so illustriously want to do. As look at Christopher Norris doing a great job making the pass, but look at Isaac Shelley ripping the top there. He's going to go by all 3 of those trucks.
And look to be one of those drivers that already pitted. Trouble striking for drivers further up ahead. Trouble. I mean, Zach, this is those scary moments. We're old on tires, and almost a big one for the drivers up front.
Oh, man, Danny Cochran almost wrecks off a 4, and what happened there, folks, is in the 3 and 4, Nick Crawford took a look to the inside of the 77 of Whitley, and I think even a little bit of netcode caused it, but Whitley came across the nose of the 74, and it sent the 74 almost completely around. That makes it about a second gap up to the 77. But man, oh man, they were having a great battle up to that point, and I think a little bit of netcode ruined it. And it really comes down to the line choices. It looks like Nick Crawford was a little more shallow with his entry, meaning he gets to the bottom much sooner than the 77, where the 77's kind of arcing the corner, trying to get that late turn up off, and it's definitely equated to them two coming together there.
Oh, big scare with 100 laps completed, but it's Mark Whitley once again surviving the contact between the 77 and 74 for the second time under this green flag run. I know we got a lot of fans out there rooting for the 42 of Joshua Stovall. And for the 42 machine, he is currently fighting for the Lucky Dog spot, currently losing that battle to Justin Campbell, who's the first driver 1 lap down. So if a caution flag came out, Campbell would get that lucky dog spot. Well, the 42, you might need a couple of more yellows to be assisted back onto the lead lap. But looking at the pace that we're seeing from the 42, he would be battling with drivers just outside of our top 20.
That he would be. He's definitely got enough pace back in that truck to, if he could get back on the lead lap, he could definitely gain some spots here. I mean, right now he's racing around the 23rd position of Ryan Bird, the 22nd position of Michael Bussell. So definitely showing some speed in that 42 after getting it fixed up. So I'll have to see if he can get that back. But problem for him is Justin Campbell is a good way up the road for that lucky dog position. So we'll have to see how that all shakes out. But right now, really what the driver I've been watching that's on the move, he had a big moment off of 4 2 laps ago, but Danny Cochran, folks, in the 2, he is flying. He's driven himself up to the 2nd position, has gotten past Nick Crawford now into 1, and he's within a 1.5 seconds. And Crawford big loose there, and that's what I'm seeing a lot of. These drivers are fighting these trucks rear end, is stepping out sideways, and that's just classic Homestead for you there, folks. It is always a track that seems to be rear grip limited, and right now we're seeing that from a lot of people. And I'm also seeing a couple trucks come to life, such as Vince Sor and Shane Therian on the lap times.
Yeah, and those are the drivers that were in the 4th, 5th, and 6th position, willing to kind of run their own pace themselves, you could say, before we got into this long run. While our front 2, Mark Whitley, Nick Crawford, they went full bore blitz mode and trying to pull away as soon as possible. And also, you saw there, we're starting to maybe have a chance of lap traffic play a factor here on how our leaders could be handling with some dirty air. But Danny Cochran is the driver on the run. He is catching up to our leader, but this is that mental game of don't overdrive the vehicle just yet, as the 2 is catching up to Mark Whitley. I mean, it's very easy, Zach. You're closing in, but to overdrive and just cook your tires before you even catch up to the driver ahead of you.
That is the vital point, Sam. You nailed it on the head there. You can be quicker. You can run somebody down, but you cannot overwork your tires trying to do it. I know as a fact myself as a driver, when you start to see that relative time start to drop between you and the driver ahead, you start to push that a little bit more. But you got to reel it back in. You got to keep doing the same things that got you there, the same things that saved the tires. And over the course of time, that consistency of just slowly gaining that time will be more of a gain than just gaining big chunks of time. And it's always tough to do that, but right now the 2 I'm really watching is this 15 and this 83. They seem to be hooked up more than really anybody right now. The only 2 drivers in that 35.0 range other than Isaac Shelley back at a 34.94 back in the 9th position. So looking at some good lap times a little bit farther back also, but Mark Whitley right now struggling at a 35.306 as Danny Cochran is about 0.2 quicker.
And you're seeing the change of who could be the changing of guards as this run progresses, as well as we are slowly entering into the zone where these drivers can make it to the end if they make a pit stop and have the fuel to be there at the end. Some of the drivers of note that are trying to make their way forward just outside of the top 10 in 12th place. We've got Ethan Smith. He's trying to find a way to move forward, but ultimately, again, these drivers, now their eyes are changing. Yes, you're closing down the driver ahead of you. What games are you willing to play for pit stops, as well as Danny Cochran is now almost less than a half a second to our leader?
That he is. Cochran is closing the gap down here very quickly, and Whitley just struggling a lot for the front grip and the exits of the corner. So it seems like all 4 tires around that truck are hurt. As you can see, the slide off of 2, and also in front of him, there's a little bit of a slide there. I don't know who truck that is, but it's sliding back up on the track.
The 34, trouble for Ferraro. He stays low, but caution flag is thrown.
Oh, and it looks like he rolled back right onto the racing surface, right in front of traffic, and I mean, luckily he got reset. Actually, I believe he did the old Alt F4. That will take out the sim quickly, but I don't know if what he did there, Sam, was broken the front wheels and he had no brakes to stop, but this 34 rolls right back on the track right before we were probably about to get the pit stops, as a few already did make pit stops, and we'll get to see here exactly what shakes out. Racing the 99 of Michael Miller here. They were back around the 24th to 25th position. And I believe actually Ferraro was already a couple laps down. He was just letting them by. And I think right here off the exit of 2, you're going to see this truck step out sideways. Everybody fighting the rear ends. He's going to nail this inside wall at a high rate of speed and just cannot keep that truck from coming back onto the surface. And
whoa,
Isaac Shelley.
Did he pull it back? That was an odd situation for the 34. Usually in those spots, you like to see a driver, if you're gonna hit the inside wall, hold the brakes, slam on it, try to slow up as quickly as possible, allow other drivers know how to react in that fashion that it will be clean. But we're gonna see here, 34 goes down. You see these tires, they continue to roll and never really hitting the brake at all, and just makes a quick jab on the brake that kind of sends him up higher, and Cody Reed as well as Shelly somehow gave away.
Yeah, the weird thing about that there is I know for a fact that when you break the front suspension on some of these tires, if it really you lose all brakes in the front. The only thing I will say that was kind of against them there is you didn't really see the rear tires lock up, and those tires should still be able to brake pretty well due to them not getting hit by anything. But yeah, definitely a weird scenario where you would like to see the driver keep the truck below the racing line and under that white line. I mean, Isaac Shelley here, he's just cruising along, and he's got to make a hard left turn.
We were just going to see his point of view, and but man, that was a scary one for the 71 of Isaac Shelley. As Ryan Ferraro, again, just a bizarre moment for himself. Cody Reed also behind, had to make it. Cody Reed's following directly where Shelley's at, and when Shelley darts, Cody also had to dart as they both almost slammed into the 34 that was just parked on the outside. You never expect to see a driver just sit there and then to just slowly crawl across the track. You can never predict how that car's going to react.
Definitely can. Yeah, this is that was scary moments. And like you said, Cody Reed was another one that just did a really great job of reacting well there to get past it, because sometimes these things can be very, very weird where when you make that move, so to say, back to the left like that sharp aggressive move, it can wreck you actually. And both them drivers right there did a great job of navigating around that, and now we're just going to have to re-rack them here and get them back going, because we're going to have us a very, very long run here. And I think that sets up well for a few drivers, but I think for the likes of Danny Cochran, a Vincent Sora, or a Shane Thayer who was making time there, you're grimacing because you really wanted to see that continue on green, because they were making up big chunks of time on our leader.
And now, I mean, Zach, do you change what you were just doing? You saw the success into the long run, the fact that you were catching up to our leaders, but at this point, do you give up all that time now for that chance of a late, surge that you're going to have, or are you willing to match the same pace that Mark Whitley? We saw it not work out for Nick Crawford. He had to lose all that time and back out and lose all that time. But I'm curious for any of the other drivers, who's willing to match pace and force maybe the 77 to run faster than he would like or prefer to go, or is Mark Whitley willing to challenge anyone else that wants to match his pace?
Well, we went back green on that run before at about lap 80. So they were on about 30 laps old tires, getting around the point of almost 31 to 32 for a few guys. And, they were making big chunks of time at that point, like 3-4 tenths at a lap. And right here, if we stay green for the rest of this race, we will have the longest green flag run we've had all night. So I still think you're going to see some saving here. Especially knowing that they're good on fuel to make it to the end of this race now. It's going to make – actually, sorry. They are not going to be good on fuel here. It's going to be very, very close, actually. Yeah, this is going to be close on fuel. So this is going to put them in, personally, a very awkward moment. And if you're farther back and if you could have topped off there, you would definitely want to do that, because it might be stretchable.
If there was anyone that was going to top off, I think Nick Crawford maybe would have been one of those drivers. That's how he won so many races last season, 6 in total for the 74. Those gutsy calls for himself. But here tonight, we got another long run. Who's going to march their way to the end of this thing? It's time to find out for the Dano Plays 240. We're back underway. Mark Whitley, a great launch for himself. The inside row going to stay even, though, from third on back.
That they are dead even, but it's going to be Cochran who makes the run. He's going to slide up in a second, but as I say that, the 18 tries to fight back, but the 2 is going to close the door on exit. Danny Cochran now up the second from 38th starting position. The 2, one of the quickest there on that longer run. We'll see what he does and elects to do this time, because right now it is go time.
Mark Whitley already going to be having a 2/10 advantage for himself. The 71 of Isaac Shelley had to make that aggressive move to get out of the way, but the 71 is back in the fight. Maybe that scare got him jolted up. The adrenaline is high. Shelley marches to the third groove, trying to make a ripping move for himself to be advancing forward. All the other drivers, they stay low, and for Vincent, Sora, Shane Tarian, they almost were bumping and running one another through the center 1 and 2.
That they were. This is getting intense, and just went and did some quick math. They should be good for fuel. Now, if we get some green light checkers, that's where things get a little crazy. But this would be the longest green flag run we have all night if it goes green to the end. So I still think you're going to see a few save the tires here a little bit, but I don't think you can give up crazy amounts of times or crazy amount of track position, because if you get a caution about halfway through this run, then we are going to be in a go, go, go mode where pretty much everybody's going to be pushing full out to the end. And you don't want to give up track position, because when everybody's pushing, passing is that much harder.
It really is. And I know a lot of people that are in the chat are cheering for a caution, as the brown machine of Joshua Stovall is going to be the driver that finds himself in the lucky dog position. If there's a caution and he's not involved with it, he would get back onto the lead lap. It would be a crucial time for himself. There's your 42 update, as the drivers up front, everyone's staying low, trying to protect those tires. It's kind of a complete reversal of what we saw earlier on, as the 70 gets into the outside wall from McComas. A huge contact for that machine, as he's going to be trying to salvage that hard contact. And these drivers, they do not prefer to be making that contact for themselves.
No, they definitely don't. You don't want to be getting into that wall, especially too many times on iRacing here. You build up the damage over time, you weaken the side of the truck, and you'll get more and more damage as you make contact with that. As we jump to the mid-pack here, you see Cedric Hunter in the 13, who's really not made much noise here tonight other than being involved in a few incidents. He's battling with the 44, Corey Deal, who just looks like he's going to push him down the straightaway as they head off into 3, as they got Ethan Smith ahead of him for a top 15 position.
Trying for that top 15 spot. You also can see the very colorful 8 machine of Mark Morales trying to work on the outside to get by the 20 of Jesse Thornick, but Deal continues the bump draft Cedric Hunter forward. And looking at all these drivers, the way they're racing, you see some willing to give spacing, but Deal doing the bump draft. I mean, Zach, how much is that influencing these drivers? Is bump drafting even helping or hurting, or is it even a doable move? Because Deal continues to do it. It looks like now taking the opportunity for a pass.
Yeah, looks like he's going to take that look to the inside. The bump draft is an interesting situation. It's a lot of times where, myself as a driver, if you don't feel like you want to really go and take the position from a driver or race side by side, because every time you race side by side like this and you don't feel like you can get the pass done, you're just putting unnecessary heat and wear in those tires, just because you're having to pinch that truck off, not allowing it to go out towards that wall and exit. As you see the 44 a little bit on the white line there, getting a little bit loose, that's going to check him up, but also Cedric Hunter's going to get the run on the 00. But the bump draft is always a useful thing, and especially if you feel like you're not trying to go for the pass, almost just more speed up the line you're in and try to make up a little bit of ground to the people ahead. As right now Hunter making the moves along with Christopher Norris ahead. The outer groove seems to be the way to go early, but as you use that up, you really start to use that right rear.
As we just mark into the 40 laps to go marker for the field. This, again, longest run we're going to be entering into if we can stay green. That's the big key for tonight. Every time we get into a crucial zone of maybe a potential time, we're going to be seeing drivers going to pit road or coming close to the end of the stage, drivers start to be a little bit more fidgety than what they were before, and some cautions have blossomed through. Right now, seeing Deal as well as Sora side by side is the 12 machine of Sora, and the 44 on the outside, making the outside lane work, continues to advance in positions are some of these drivers.
That does. And President Sora continues to drop back in the 12, and his strategy all night long has been pretty much the same. Just slow, methodical, but behind him, I think Morales goes around head first into the wall. That might bounce him back up in front of the field, but no, it's not. I think we're going to stay green here, as he's going to have to reset to the back to pit road.
Martin Morales just cheered him on, and then he finds himself into the inside wall. Might be a night done with that hard contact. Here's a replay of what happened to Martin Morales. He was just behind Ethan Smith, had Justin Smith starting to close in behind. Is there a looseness contact? Just looked like he lost it. Maybe a little bit of help from the 6 behind. And right on that angled spot on the back stretch. Terrible position and that could be a race ender.
He just found the Jeff Gordon wall there. It always seems like they would find those interesting angles in the wall, and that's always the worst spot to hit when it's angled like that and completely destroys the truck. And I think, yeah, there possibly was a little bit of contact even there. I don't know if it was Morales just got a little bit loose, then the contact was made as he checked up, but definitely I think some contact there, and that is going to be a tough end to the night for the 8 machine, who is having quite a good run.
Having a great run of trying to just, again, stay under the radar, have a decent day. Some of these drivers, again, trying to get recovery runs after last week at Daytona. Not everyone had good days last week at the super speedway to start the season off, and sometimes you're looking for a top 20 run to maybe reset yourself for the rest of the season. And for others, it looks to be you might need another week to reset. Next week, not going to be the funnest race to try to reset as they head to Iowa. And then after that, they head to Road America before they have a week break here for the ISRC Lariat Productions Truck Series. You're seeing a majority of the field in line and waiting to see when they'll try to make the push to maybe go side by side. But it seems like, Zach, all the passing is settled in. It's now wait and see when the tire changeup's going to finally emerge here in the next 10 to 15 laps.
No doubt, Sam. Yeah, I think it's going to really start to happen here really within 15 to 20, where you're going to start to see some of these gaps change, some of the speed drop-offs between people, and it's going to be very interesting. But here's the battles back here for 20th. Now the 42 with Jocelyn Stogle. He is a lap down, so he is not fighting for position here, but he is definitely fighting to stay, in that lucky dog position with the 50th Samuel Garcia. A couple cars back from this, so that's what the 42 is really fighting for. And right now, the 6, the 49, all these drivers fighting for position. It's always tough when you have that lap truck right in the middle, because you want to go forward, but then Stoble's also fighting for his life, for trying to get back on the lead lap. So it's really everybody fighting for everything.
All little battles all around. Who's going to be in the better positioning at this moment, as seeing that 42 trying to stay high and kind of defending back. Justin Smith from any chance of making his run forward. And as we've been seeing the middle pack kind of having their own fights up front, it's starting to close in. Danny Cochran now less than a second, almost less than a half a second. He's seeing that 77 get a slightly bigger, and it seems like, Zach, Danny Cochran flipping that switch slightly sooner than what we saw in the last run.
Does seem to be a little bit of a sooner flip to that switch. You're definitely right about that, Sam. And he stayed closer also this run. I think last run he was almost 4 seconds back at one point. I think this time going to be a little bit closer. It's going to be interesting to see if he can keep the tire underneath him, because, again, we talked about it earlier. When you run somebody down, it's so easy to overheat the tire, and just really kind of negate anything you gain. So we'll see what he does here, but he is definitely closing in at about 1/10 of a second. The closer he gets, though, the worse that dirty air effect will be, and he'll start to lose downforce in the front of that truck.
Trying their best to see who's going to be in the better positioning here late. It's been a fun one to watch. How this field initially, there was a lot of carnage blossoming up in the first stage of drivers trying to make some very aggressive moves. The big one struck, and it kind of settled everyone down. But if you're just joining us, it's going to be 30-lap run. Mark Whitley's been the odds-on favorite here tonight, but we've seen on the long run different drivers popping up, having some good strength. At some points, it's been Danny Cochran. At others, it's been Vincent Sora. And also, we've seen Shane Terrian be a fast driver. Nick Crawford has been the one and truly driver that's has been able to make a pass or has been in the lead and defended Mark Whitley pretty well. But at the end of each run, Whitley's back up front. He seems to be the unstoppable force. Someone's going to try to be that one that could change it, though.
We'll have to see if someone can take that away from him for sure. But, Crawford took a little bit of a different approach this time. He was going very, very hard, keeping up with Whitley that last run. This run seems to be more methodical, really slowly trying to work the tires in, as maybe felt like he overused them there, especially after his slide and the incident with him and Whitley. That really overheated the rear tires, I'd imagine. That's what really continued his slide back from that second position, but we'll see what he can do here. But right now, everybody really in the top 8, all making really good lap times when it comes to compared to our leader.
Looking at the field and the way they're running right now, Mark Whitley, again, in a strong position. Thomas Green right back to where he was at before we saw the transition. For Thomas Green, end of last season, again, talked about how if he was in the playoffs, probably could have been a contender to make the Final Four with how well he was running. Curious if he can continue on with this trend of a top 3 finish. Other drivers that look strong, Shane Tarian runs in 6th. He's got Isaiah Shelley right behind him, and I gotta say, seeing a lot of these drivers returning that used to run back in season 1, season 2, even all the way back in season 3. Seeing Justin Sipes back, who only ran back in season 2, and also seeing Shelley, who ran part-time in the early half of the ISRC's career and starting point. It's been great to see the 77 having a good run here tonight.
It definitely is great to see, the likes of those drivers, and especially even the newcomers like Shade. So it's really cool to see the mix in here. And even got Vincent Soar right there, a past champion right behind him. And Isaac is really using that top line to make big runs. I mean, he has had some giant runs from that outside, and he really utilizes it well. But right now, he's got that 15 closing up to him a little bit. But you see down the straightaways, that outside line just makes so much straightaway speed. And even, I think, really where it shows up is down here in 1 and 2, where you can really get nice and close to that wall and get the great turn up off the top. So we'll see how well of a run he has here, and if he can try to maybe make a move on Shane Therian, who has been one of the faster trucks on the long run. And look right there again. Look at that speed he's able to carry. Now he's got to go to the bottom side to try to make the pass, and this is not where he's been the best all night. So look, you can see the 83 closes the door, makes him have to run lower, and there he makes his time. So it's one of those things where Isaac is very quick and able to get side by side with people, but he just cannot find the way to get around on the bottom yet.
Isaac Shelley, a one-time winner in the ISRC Truck Series. It was all the way back in Season 3, winner of the Sonoma race, where we thought maybe Danny Cochran was going to get that win. Wasn't the case. Got to see the 71 take victory there, and he's had a couple of really good top 5 runs throughout his career, and tonight hoping for another top 5 run if possible. Some other drivers that have been just outside of the top 15 trying to continue their way forward. I think one of the shocking drivers, Justin Campbell, again caught up and being spun around. It was the 9 machine having issues here tonight. He is trying his best to recover as well as he can.
That he is. He's trying to do everything in his power here after that incident earlier, where he got loose and, of course, got hit by Justin Forbes. And he's done a good job of really making that ground back up after getting the lucky dog. And he's got the driver who's 1 lap down in front of him, leading the lucky dog position. That's Joshua Stovall. So we'll see how that 42 can, hang on if we do get a caution, so to say, here, and get himself back on the lead lap, because he's right now, racing around the 18th to 19th position. So showing still good speed after getting that truck fixed up. But it's going to be quite the battle once he gets back on that lead lap. Everybody races you a little different when you're there, but the 9 trying to dive to the inside of the 42, and he's going to get a little loose.
Getting a tad loose, and even if you're racing a lap car, it's still tough to make some of these passes, as Campbell still stuck behind that UPS Brown machine. And for Justin Campbell, might have just had a brown pants moment on the exit of turn 2. Got to see that rear end kicking out just slightly. And Zach, it seems like we're in that zone again. It's the transition phase. If you've been protecting your tires, you are in attack mode. If you've been too aggressive, you're falling back. And as this battle's been looking great in the middle of the field, up front, Danny Cochran is right in the positioning. He's just 3/10 back from the leader.
Cochran is here now, and he is ready to try to take the position from the 77 of Whitley. But this is the tough spot to be in. You've caught him now. Now you're in his turbulent, dirty air, really taking the downforce off your truck. You have to be patient. You have to make him make a mistake to give you that easy pass, because if you get to his inside, he's just going to put it on your door and really make those things tough on you. So right here, with it being a little bit free and a little bit loose, you can get that driver in front of you thinking a little too much. But I think these two, they're racing a good battle right now, but I think they're going to have worries here later, because I've been watching the 15, the 83 of Shane Therian. They're trying to get past Justin Sipes right now. I think those two will have the quickest pace when it comes to the very long run. And right now, Vincent Soar's only 2.5 seconds back. I could see the 15 still having a shot here, even though we're coming up here soon to 20 to go.
Yeah, I mean, there's a 5-car train, really, that's looking really quick. Like you said, Shane Terry, Vincent Sora, Shelley's looked quick. Also, Aaron Kralik in the 01. He has looked just as fast as those drivers. A little bit of a pinch on Sipes. Sipes has to back out of the corner, and it gives an opportunity for Vincent Sora on the outside to carry his momentum. But those 4 drivers are looking very quick and at equal pace of the 83, 15, 71, and the 01. They just have to get by Sipes, and then they march on forward to try to catch up to Nick Crawford.
It's very valid about Aaron Kralik. I just looked at his lap times. He's definitely looking quick. Same with Presley Sora. He's made his way up to 10th. Problem for Presley, he's about 4.8 seconds back from the lead, while the other drivers around him, other drivers we're talking about 2.5 seconds back. So he's definitely got some ground to be made up. But we'll see how now in clear track will Shane Therian and Vincent Sora be able to make time, because that time by Shane himself was about a 10th quicker than anybody ahead.
Looking at drivers, that last lap, I think Danny Cochran, turbulent air 1, but maybe got a little bit too giddy on how quick he was catching up to Mark Whitley. He fell back, lost 0.3 that last time around. In the last 2 laps, the 2 has to reset and refine some of that speed and maybe tire temperature as we move on. Other drivers in the middle of the pack, see Christopher Norris try and jump. Larry Yingling in that red 67. They're trying to figure out how to get by Cody Reed, currently in the 25 machine. As this grouping, we always talk about if there's going to be a caution, where it could be happening. Well, this seems to be the group. If we're going to see a caution, it might be from this pairing of drivers that are around one another.
I wouldn't doubt it for sure right here with this grouping. Definitely a little bit of a wild group, so to say. And Yingling here, a newcomer, he's trying to figure out his ways around these drivers, but tough to pass. I mean, when you got that outside line that makes so much speed, it's very, very tough to make up the ground that you need to do to clear somebody. But I think through 1 and 2 here, Yingling will clear the likes of the 46 at Trenton Jump. He'll slide up in front of him up into the 13th position and see now if he can set his sights on Christopher Norris and Cody Reed, who are not too far ahead.
Again, it just seems like there's just one driver being the spearhead that just, okay, we're in attack mode, we're gonna pass this driver, let's all move as one, and they're making it work currently right now. 18 laps to go at this current moment. Now looking back at some of the past races that we've had here at Homestead, the big one that always comes to mind when we talk about Homestead is season 3, the incredible last lap pass by Cedric Hunter. And it all came together because 2 drivers up front, it was Ethan Smith leading and Anthony Gaudio catching up to the 00 at the time. When they caught up, they enabled 3rd place to catch up and make that last pass move. Right now, Thomas Green, as well as Nick Crawford, they stay attached and they pull along Shane Therian. And we see Danny Cochran, Mark Whitley start to get into a duel. We can start to see other drivers maybe influence this race, but it's going to come down to the 2nd place runner of Danny Cochran. He needs to slow down the 77 machine to give everyone from 3rd on back a chance.
That's for sure. And right now, the battle that's going to be crucial, the battle for 4th. Nick Crawford side by side with Shane Therian. And Therian's got to get this pass done quickly in the 83. And I tell you what, the 74, not making it easy. The 74 is putting it right on the door. And this is, if you're Shane, this is killing any chances here of you trying to run down the leaders. He's about 2/10 quicker than the leader. Same with Vincent Sora. Both of them are quick enough to go up there and run Mark Whitley down, but they have to get through the next 3 drivers. That's going to be the key here. And you can see the 74 is just doing a good job of just staying on the quarter panel, pulling him back and not allowing him to clear the corner. At some point here, Shane's going to have to really send it into the corner and use up the 74 or pull a slide job.
It's so tough. And at the same point as for Nick Crawford, you're holding back to 83, but for Shane Therian, snapping loose because of all this working, it's now giving a chance for Vincent Sora, who, you know, you might have to just use up your tires at this moment, do a daring move, go up to that 3rd lane, rip the top, get by these 3 drivers, and then settle your tires down for a lap or 2, and maybe you can go in attack mode. But Vincent Sora, he's looking for an opportunity, maybe thought about the middle groove, instead will help out the SDR driver on the outside. Sora taking the advantage because of the slip up. He sticks it down low, but Nick Crawford doesn't give space. The 15 has to back out again.
That is aggressive there on the, on the pinching there, and that's what's going to hold these guys back a little bit here. It's just enough speed from the 74, from the 18, that's going to be really a hindrance to these drivers. And really Crawford, Green, all of them faster. Look at that. Vincent Sora going to use the bumper here, and I'm not surprised by that. I mean, you got to go. You have, you work 13 to go here. You're 2 seconds back. You're much quicker than these guys. He has got to get ahead of them. and he cannot let this 74 hold him back. But look, the 74 fights back to the quarter panel, but Vince Sora going to be able to gas it up here, and the 74 loose. Good pass from Vincent Sora there up to the 4th position. Now he sets his sights on Thomas Green.
And I'm curious, I mean, it's so hard when you're a driver, you're stuck in, you're only in your cockpit, you're thinking about only about yourself in this moment. I think a big picture, if you would just let Shantarian go and Vincent Sora go, they could have pulled back some of your competition to you. But instead, by fighting them, you've hurt everyone in this group. They did out. I don't think they have a chance to catch up to Mark Whitley unless Danny Cochran finds magically some speed. But it looks like the 77 pulling away. 12 laps to go. Vincent Sora, Shantarian, they're going to need a miracle run to run down that 77.
They definitely are. And you hit the nail on the head there. You know, Crawford's fighting for everything he's got to hold on to the positions he has, but it almost hurts you more sometimes to fight that hard when people are that much quicker a little bit than you, because it, like you said, it pulls everybody apart, and that, you know, you could actually use them to kind of pull yourself up there. But at the same time, it's easy in the late race moments like this just to fight for yourself. You're not thinking, you know, hey, I need to hold this guy up. You know, you're just thinking hold on to the position. And look at that. Look at the difference here. The 18 runs much higher. That allows Vince Sora to run his middle groove, carry the speed instead of having a truck around the door. He makes the clean, easy pass. And now you're going to see what kind of speed he can produce here with a little bit cleaner air. But with 10 to go, he's not going to have enough time with only a 1.7 second gap. He's going to have to close in, I mean, at like 2 to 3 tenths a lap if he wants a shot.
And you saw the pairing of two drivers working the top. That's Isaac Shelley and also Presley Sora. They're trying to work together, utilize the draft, the speed on the outside groove to run down as quickly as possible. But looks like they're going to be stalling out just outside of the top 5 currently. 10 laps to go. Mark Whitley pulling away, making the gap a little bit bigger. It's now 1.2 seconds, the difference between first and second. And for Vincent Sora, he's made it less than 2 seconds, but it's a lot of work. Currently, the last lap that was put down, it looked to be Vincent Sora 2 tenths faster than Mark Whitley. If we go based off of those numbers, Sora could be there with 1, maybe a lap and a half to go before this race is over. But he has to hit his marks. Getting out of the way is Vincent Sora's teammate. Danny Cochran gives up second position. Sora's got clean air. He's got a second and a half to run down Mark Whitley with 8 laps to go.
That is the key, Sam, here. He had his teammate able to move around, and that is going to give him the time now, the clear air. Can he continue the run he was at? Because the time before, it was about 2.5 tenths. This time it was just under 2 tenths. So he's going to need to continue to make up that ground, and it's going to be tough here. Even though he's that much quicker, he's got to get around him, but we could see quite the close in here if he can keep up that pace.
If this is your first time ever watching the ISRC Lariat Productions Truck Series, we got a storyline for you. Mark Whitley, Vincent Sora, Season 1. It was a rivalry between these two drivers on who was going to take that Season 1 championship. Mark Whitley won the most, but Vincent Sora ultimately took the championship. They both had intentional wrecks at one another at some point during that season, but Vincent Sora seemed to always find the upper hand at the end of the season and when the runs came around. Sora then left. He wasn't here until last season. Mark Whitley became the most winningest driver but never won a championship. It always felt like late in races they were close to one another, and it might be another charge. Now with 6 laps to go, now 7 down to 6. Vincent Sora, that last lap wasn't enough pace. He needs to find a little bit of more extra ground, but behind them, Shane Terry has been making daring passes. He's up to 4th and maybe even 3rd.
Yeah, some contact even between Thomas Green and them as, Nick Crawford, big loose there coming off the exit. And you got Presley Sora, who is flying at this moment, ripping the top. He's really making up ground, trying to make a late charge here to a podium position. And man, oh man, it's been fun to watch this group battling, and Vincent Sora, gaining 2 tenths at a time up front. This is quite the race here coming down to 5 to go. And I tell you what, I think they're not going to have enough. Whitley is just going to have, I think, just enough. The only hope for Vincent Sora is that once he starts getting a little bit of draft, even though the dirty air is going to hurt him, once he gets that draft, it will hopefully pull him a little closer. But I just ain't seeing it this lap.
Mark Whitley, let's see where he's been running a lot of these drivers down to that white line, and Mark's doing a very similar space. He's right down on the inside groove. And for Vincent Sora, he's now within a second. This is when you're getting a lot more of that toe from the draft on the straightaways if you get a clean launch off the exit of the corners. But with 4 laps to go, the 77 seems to be in cruise control. He's seeing the likes of Danny Cochran. He's seeing the likes of Nick Crawford get within a half a second, but then fall backwards. Vincent Sora, he's now within a second, but he didn't gain time that last lap as much as he needed. It's now dead even entering turn 3 at 1 second flat. He needs more time, but it doesn't look like we're going to see any of it. But also, this race doesn't become official until the white flag. Until then, if a caution comes out, we can head to overtime.
That we could, and we've seen that in the past here. No doubt at ISRC. No lead is safe here, especially even if it's a big one, because you can see a yellow flag come out at any point. And I've seen Vince Sora, he just moved up to the top side. I don't know if that's going to make speed. It doesn't look like it gained him really anything. So we'll see if he's able to find something, but I think he knows he's not going to catch him running that same line. He just needs to find a lot more speed if he wants to make something happen here.
Needs more speed, needs a little bit more of air to help for himself to get through the corners. But with 2 laps to go, Shane Tarian finally able to make the pass for 3rd position. Presley Sora going to be trying to make the pass for potentially for 4th and for 3rd. But as it's the duel back and forth for 3rd place, it's been a good one. But Mark Whitley continues to hold pace, hold ground. 2 laps to go. Now a lap and a half, and Sora's just too far back.
Too far back, and if we get the white flag, it's just going to take a nice clean lap from Mark Whitley, who, man oh man, he fought them all. They gave runs at him, they gave him everything, but it's not going to be enough.
White flag in the air, presented by Freaky Fast Broadcasting. If you'd like to be the sponsor of the white flag, go on over to ISRC on Instagram. It's the ISRC Truck Series. But Mark Whitley continues to show why he is the most winningest driver in this series. It's all about the clean air. When it's a Mark Whitley type of a race, he's up front, he's got all the clean air in front of him, and no one else can keep pace. They tried every certain way to stop the 77, but tonight he gets back into victory lane. The most winningest driver takes his first win of season 7.
What a race, what a drive. Great job by Mark Whitley there, getting himself another victory here at ISRC after a long hiatus. Great to see him back. Vincent Sora, of course, classic Vincent, driving up through the field. Shane Tarian also a top 3 finish. Presley Sora 4th, and Thomas Green rounding out your top 5. And I think you're going to go back to that race and look, and I think the guy who's going to maybe say what could have been is Danny Cochran, maybe using up a little too much tire there to run Whitley down.
It's just one of those things. You saw a chance to get into victory lane, and it just wasn't there. Congratulations to that Harpoon Designs Racing driver, Mark Whitley. It will be his 18th career win. Going to be extending that gap that he has to John Forbes, who did not show up here tonight. So the gap's now back to 3 of the difference between 1st and 2nd in the all-time list. But for Mark Whitley, he's back to his winning ways. Congratulations to the 77, as well to Vincent Sora and Shane Tarian for getting inside of our top 3 for us of the booth. When we come back, we'll talk to our top 3 and a spotlight driver to get their thoughts on tonight's race. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the post-race show for the ISRC Lariar Productions Truck Series. Here tonight, we got to be seeing Homestead back to being the second race of the season. You thought maybe it was going to come down to a late pass, but instead, it went to the dominator of this evening as we pull Mark Whitley in. Sorry, Mark, for pulling you away from that conversation, but what a run for yourself here tonight. Grabbed the pole, led the most laps, was up front dominating. Man, how does it feel to be back in the victory lane after taking a season off here in the ISRC Truck Series?
It feels pretty good. Especially the last season, it took us forever to get a win, so we knocked it out in the first real race of the season. Daytona's Daytona, so this is like the first real, like what I consider the real start of the season. So good to go ahead and get a win out of the way. Had great speed. Had to figure out something in the long run, and I kind of went to school behind Nick there in the middle of the race and kind of figured something out, and I kind of used it there toward the end of the race. And I was really worried about burning the tires off, but I was able to save it a little bit, and I kind of gave up a little bit of gap. But then Danny got close to me, but I think dirty air started being a factor, and then his tires got hot, and I was just cruising, trying to save all I could in case had someone make a late charge. And I think Vinny, he was he was charging hard there the last few laps, and I was able to kind of step it up a little bit and had just enough gap where I didn't have to really worry about it on the last lap, and that's always a nice feeling.
Definitely was quite the race for you, Mark. Congrats on the win, buddy. I mean, take us through it because, like you said, you had multiple different people charging up to you, kind of getting in that air and then dropping back. So how tough is that when they get close to your mirror not to make mistakes?
Yeah, just about focusing ahead and just hitting your line. And honestly, with these trucks, you got to really use, when you're in the lead like this, especially at the end of the race, you really got to know how to use the dirty air to your advantage. And my line in 3 and 4 was a lot wider arc than a lot of guys, so it kind of helped already that I was taking a wider arc, so I just would kind of cut down across their nose, and the air would just seem like it got them tight. So it was just, I didn't want to get too far out there because then they'd run me down at the end because it was a really long run, but I also didn't want to give up any spots there on the beginning of the run because I figured I wasn't sure how I was on the long run because I hadn't really practiced it yet because we hadn't had a super long run. And so it was real just me. Every lap was its own, like I had to make decisions on every lap just to figure out, all right, how deep do I drive it in this corner? How much do I back it up? How much do I trail brake? How much do I let it roll? And it was very mentally taxing, I'll say that. And I'm kind of glad it's over because that was getting a little stressful.
Mark, we missed you on how you were going to be running last season. Weren't sure if you're going to be coming back for this season. What made you feel like you wanted to come back for season 7 for another chance at this championship?
Well, they changed the format to something that I actually like, so that's all it took, honestly.
Well, we're happy to have you back, Mark, again, most winningest driver in the series, your 18th career win, and your first one shows up so quick just in race number 2. Before we let you go, though, the floor is now yours for any shout-outs.
Oh, yeah, big shout-out, first and foremost, Brantley Harpoon Design. He gave me this awesome out-there paint scheme. I've been running now for a couple months, and really appreciate all the work he does. And then he also, up on the spotter stand, he was real big help at the end of that run, at the end of the race, and giving me information on Danny, on Vinny, where they're running, like if they're getting closer, if they're burning their tires up, and that information, it was helping me do all my calculations. So I really appreciate him. So check him out at harpoondesign.com. I think I got a couple family members that tune in to this race. I always appreciate them. Shout out to the league. We had a few, in the middle of the race, there was a few quickie cautions, but this track's kind of tricky sometimes. But I think for the most part, we ran a really good race and had a lot of guys here. So shout out to league for really good, really good racing out there. And final shout out to you guys putting on a great broadcast. It's always nice to come back and be back on Freaky Fast because it's some of the best broadcast quality I think I've ever seen on iRacing. So should be fun to go back and watch and maybe watch it a little bit more relaxed and not so stressful.
I would imagine it's a lot more relaxing when you know that you got into victory lane. Congratulations, Mark, on this win. Enjoy it, and good luck next week at Iowa.
Thank you.
As we move from victory lane, we go down to second place to a driver that almost had a chance to get there, but kind of had to hit a wall, wasn't able to get any further up. We've got second place runner of Vincent Sora with us. Vinny, come away second, but man, it was an impressive second place run for yourself there late. How are you feeling, though, coming away second here tonight?
I feel pretty good, but a little bit frustrated because I think I definitely could have won tonight if just a few things would have went differently there. I feel like I had, if not the best long run pace, definitely like top 3 quickest guys in the long run. It seems like every time though, the same 5 or 6 trucks would just go out there and absolutely roast their tires for 15 laps. And then as soon as we'd start making up that deficit, we'd get a yellow or something stupid would happen. And then there at the end, I waited way too long to start going. And then once I finally started rolling through guys, I got close enough to Mark where I'm like, okay, I think I can catch him here. But as soon as you get in that 1 second gap when he has clean air, you can't do anything. I was catching him like tenths every lap, and then I got within the bubble and we just completely evened out. So there's not much you can do. He drove a really good race. He drove a really smart race to just kind of control the air up at the front. And I just needed to be a little bit better.
That's kind of where I was going to go, Vinny, is, controlling the air. I mean, we saw the speed. You definitely had, amazing long run speed there. And maybe even possibly got held up, right there coming through the field there, maybe kind of hurt your chances, I'd say, a little bit. But, how do you weigh that of like, wanting to control the air up there and, try to hold on to your tires versus doing what you did, giving up the spots and then having to drive back through?
Yeah, I mean, I would always rather have more tire at the end of the run than, I guess, track position, but that's just me. But at the same time, I feel like that always hurts me. So I don't know. The trucks are so weird. They're just such an anomaly on here. I feel like I never know what's the right thing to do on any given week, because it's like next week, I don't think that what they did will work just because of how abrasive the track is on tires. So I don't know. I could be wrong. I usually am in these situations, and I'll play it just the opposite of what it needs. But yeah, at these big tracks, the air is just way more important than the tires. So definitely going to be something that I need to look into for the rest of the season.
Well, we kind of give a preview of what next week Iowa is going to be our next race, and then we have Road America before we have a week break. How are you feeling about these next 2 races, Vinny, as it's going to a short track and then a road course?
Well, I feel really good about Iowa because I won there last time. So I think that's going to be a strong place for me. We're going to have a lot more trucks and a lot less opportunities at green flag runs, though. So we'll see. Road America, I haven't driven in the truck in years, but the last time I went there in a truck league, I won. So hopefully with a little bit of practice and some things that fall my way, I can get a couple more wins the next couple weeks.
Well, we're hoping for the best for you, Vinny. And before we let you go, the floor is now yours for any shout-outs.
Yeah, just everybody in the league for making it possible, all my teammates, you guys for broadcasting, and all the sponsors.
Well, that will be the 15 machine of Vincent Sora coming away with a second place finish here tonight. Congratulations, Vinny, on this run, and good luck next week at Iowa.
Thanks, guys.
As we move from second place, we go down to third, where we get to talk to the 83 machine of Shane Terry. And Shane, it's Sam and Zach up in the booth. I talked to you earlier. The confidence level was not there for tonight. How are you feeling, though, coming away with a third place finish here this evening?
I'm feeling pretty proud of myself. I haven't ran good here in years. I forgot that they updated these trucks, so it probably makes sense as to why I did so well here tonight. I could actually drive the thing. It was great.
It definitely looked pretty good from up here, Shane. I know I even talked to you too a little bit before the race, and you definitely didn't feel confident coming into it. But, what do you think? It looked like your biggest strength was personally in the long run. It just seemed like all night as the run went on, the 83 got quicker. I mean, take us through it. Was that like a mindset thing of saving the tires, or was it coming to you?
Mindset was saving tires. I mean, I didn't have any confidence, so I was like, I'm just gonna take it easy. And then, it just kind of once I realized I was catching people, I was like, okay, this is a thing. And then I just kind of fine worked my line throughout the race, especially when I drove through the field. And yeah, I think long run pace. I think me and Vinny were the ones to beat on long run pace there tonight. It was fun. It was definitely a very fun race. I have to admit.
I mean, it gave us a joy to call throughout this evening, Shane. I know we got 2 more races coming up for you that potentially can be showing up for Iowa and Road America. I kind of got a sense of your thoughts on them last week, but any changes now after running tonight on how you feel like you're going to perform at Iowa and Road America?
Iowa should be fine. Road America, it's hit or miss if I even show up. But if I do, I'm just gonna be there to have some fun because I am not good at road courses. But Iowa, curious how this truck's gonna be at Iowa with the updates to it last build or so. So we'll see what happens. I used to be really good at Iowa. That used to be my track in the truck. So we'll see if it drives the same it did years ago.
We cannot wait to see how you're going to perform, Shane. Before we let you go, though, the floor is now yours for any more shout-outs.
I'm just gonna shout out the guys I raced with, like Vinny and Danny. That was fun. That was hard racing with the 18, and you guys for broadcasting. And I mean, Matt Rod hasn't been able to show up the last 2 weeks, but shout out to him to paying for me to be part time. He so desperately wanted me to wanted me to race, and he hasn't showed up. So, but I'm performing.
You certainly are performing. Another great finish for yourself. 2 weeks in a row. Can't wait to see how you're going to perform next week as well. Enjoy this finish, Shane, and good luck next week at Iowa.
Thank you.
As we move from third place, we go to our spotlight driver. Going to be a driver that had a good run here tonight and actually has had decent runs here at Homestead in the past and also has had some poor runs here at the past. Instead, it's on the positive end. We got the 0-1 of Aaron Kralik with us. Aaron, a solid performance, top 10 run for yourself. You look like one of the fastest drivers there late in the run at moments. How are you feeling after a 7th place finish here tonight?
Man, it was a big upswing from the abysmal night at Daytona last week. I think I finished 35th, and it's just fun to get a top 10 in this stout field. And yeah, like you said, the car felt amazing. Sorry, truck felt amazing on the long run, and I just learned something from my teammate in practice there, and I tried it out for a few laps in the practice before the race. And yeah, I had to really put it to the test whenever I started again. I think in the 31st, something like that, this week. But no, steadily made my way up to the front, and it was a blast going up there.
Hey, it definitely looked like a blast there. Congrats on the great run, man. And
Thank
I'm
you,
gonna kind of hit where the other drivers I asked them too is this race and this track is usually all about tires and having the long run speed like you had definitely possessed there, showing there at the end of the race. Was it more of a mindset thing of saving tires, or was it just naturally how you were driving it came to you later?
Oh, there's always a thought in the back of your mind, like you didn't want to go out there and guns blazing, burn your stuff up, because I mean it was a pain to pass. If you got caught up behind them in the dirty air, it was a pain to pass, yes, but it was a lot better just to go at 75, 80% and just, you nice squeezing an egg for the gas pedal out of the corner. Nice easy wheel. That's so yeah, you always had that little thought in the back of your mind to save the right rear, because that one burned a lot at this track. This track with this temp, and it was just always in the back of your mind there.
I mean, looking at past runs that you've had, Aaron, trying to continue on good trends for yourself. We're heading to Iowa next week, where you've tied your best finish of 3rd place multiple times in the past. How are you? What's the confidence level heading to a track that you've performed so well at, with having a great performance like you had this week?
Oh, well, I mean, it's probably just gonna be how I'm feeling that day, because last season Iowa, that was a very strategic finish to finish podium. I don't know if we'll get that lucky this week. I have a feeling we might have a bit more cautions. I'm not saying all of the race, but I have a feeling we'll have a little bit more than last season. But oh, I'd say it's a solid maybe 6.5, 7 out of 10. Maybe I'll try to get a top 10. I'll hope so. I'll be gunning for it, but I'll try not to push the issue and end up in the wall.
Well, I hope to see a great finish from yourself, Aaron. Congratulations again on 7th place here tonight. And before we let you go, the floor is now yours for any more shout-outs.
Oh yeah, I'd like to thank the teammates, Ryan Bird, Dakota Moniz, Jesse Thornock. They didn't have, I mean, they had good runs, and some of them not the best of luck. Ryan, but hey, we'll be there next week for Iowa. I'd like to thank everyone else for coming out and giving the audience a good show. Of course, the audience for watching, and lastly, you guys for putting on a hell of a show. I'll have to
thank
watch
you.
it tomorrow at work.
Well, thank you for giving us such a great show to cover, Aaron. Enjoy this one, and good luck next week at Iowa.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, that's going to be your 7th place finisher of Aaron Kralik in the L1. A great run for himself here tonight as we get prepared to take a look at our unofficial results here this evening. I know a lot of drivers were hoping for the way that they qualified, maybe to be where they finished. For some, it was redemption of how could you recover here this evening. But up front was the driver who started up front. Mark Whitley started with the pole and will come away with the win here this evening. Vincent Soar will come away in 2nd, and 3rd is Shane Tarian. Vincent Soar's brother of Presley Soar going to come away with 4th after ripping the top and showing his speed there late. Thomas Green will fall to 5th with a great run on himself. But Danny Cochran failed at qualifying, wasn't able to get a time in for himself. He still from last up to 6th. What a run for the 2 machine. Aaron Kralik, who was their spotlight driver, will come away in 7th. Nick Crawford 8th. 9th is Isaac Shelley, and Larry Yingling, the rookie, coming away with the 10th place run. Not bad for himself, but even some of the drivers just outside the top 10, Zach, they had some good runs for themselves as well.
That they did. I mean, Justin Sipes was there all night in 11th position. Even Christopher Norris, he had some bright moments there, finishing in 12th. Corey Dill in 13th. He did a great job. Cody Reed came back from an incident in 14th, so really a lot of bounce backs. Even Ethan Smith in 15th. I mean, I could go all down the list really here of just great runs for a lot of guys. A top 20 for Jesse Thornick. I think Cedric Hunter, he would have wanted more tonight with a 20th place finish to the past winner here at Homestead. I know his night kind of went upside down after a few incidents for sure for him, and struggled with that. And then, as you go even farther through the list here, some of the guys that finished in the back, I look at like Ryan Bird, Ali Fonseca, had really good starting positions tonight, just couldn't get the finish they wanted tonight. Ended up in some major incidents involved, and it was just a tough way to end the night for them. But they got another race coming up next week. Iowa's just around the corner, only 7 days away now, and it's going to be a place where hopefully they can go and bounce back. First real short track test of the season, and I can tell you what, with the field sizes we're getting this season, it's going to be quite the wild one, I would think.
I think also with the knowledge that we've learned from tonight and with the end of last season, aggressive driving is going to be most likely the key to get yourself up front in that track position as well. So key for a great finish. But for us here tonight, this finishes Monday, but this is also the start of a week-long coverage for Freaky Fast Broadcasting. We are back to 4 nights a week, Monday through Thursday. We've got you with racing coverage. Tomorrow night, we are going to be covering a brand new series. It is the Challenger Racing League, starting up with their first race following the NASCAR schedule of the Sunday before. The race, we're going to be starting the season off at Richmond. So a very unique start to the season, but automatically we'll know who are the fast short track drivers in the next gens starting this Tuesday. Then on Wednesday, it's the WSSR Cup Series as they're going to be marching their way to the last great Coliseum and the last race of the regular season. Who's making the playoffs? Who's going to be knocked out? You don't want to miss it on Wednesday night. And then also on Thursday, it's the preseason great racing action from the Doghouse Cup Series as they're going to be giving us some super speedway type racing as they head to Atlanta for the Atlanta 300. Don't want to miss all the amazing action, but Zach, surprising to say, it feels good to be back at full strength, giving you a full week of racing action.
No, it definitely is. It's going to be fun. I can't wait to hear, tomorrow night, of course, with Challenger Racing Series, like having those guys come up. It's going to be cool to listen to you and Trevor be back together as a duo. I love listening to Trevor come back. So we'll get him back up here at Freaky Fast. Of course, I race on Wednesday nights and I run the show over there. So that's always good to see with us closing out the regular season after a really successful so far season. And of course, Doghouse, me and you back at it again, open setups, and just seeing who can go and, battle it out and figure out who's got the best cars week in and week out there. So it's fun to be back to full time. And I tell you what, if you're out there, you haven't subscribed, you haven't liked the video yet, make sure you do that because, not only was tonight's race great, but we also have great other leagues that you can tune in and watch all throughout the week here at Freaky Fast.
Yeah, and it's amazing to see. Like we said, we got the next gen cars for the next 3 nights, but the first 2 nights, the Tuesday and Wednesday, it's fixed setup league. Thursday, it is open setup. Once we get to the season starting this upcoming Thursday, it will be a fixed super speedway setup that they're using. But after that, it is open setup. It's up to the drivers on how they want their vehicles to be driving. So you do not want to miss these upcoming races. They're going to be fun racing action overall to watch. But for us here this evening, thank you so much for joining with us. It was a pleasure to give you the second race of the season for the ISRC Larry Art Productions Truck Series. Your Dan O Plays 240 winner goes to the 77 of Mark Whitley. It was amazing coverage, a little bit of a longer race than we've seen before. But for tonight here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting, for myself, Sam Dyer, for Zach Hall, for Robert Moyer Jr., and everyone else here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting, thank you for joining with us. We will see you next week. Iowa, race number 3. Who's got the short track styles for themselves? Vincent Sora knows how to get it done, but who else could challenge him? We have to wait and see next week. But for us up at the booth, we will see you tomorrow night as we head for a season opener with the Challenger Racing League, as that will be our next Freaky Fast broadcast.